Chapter 2440. On the second day, a piece of news spread almost all over the virtual city of Tyrant City. What? Master Mateto, the champion of this martial arts competition, actually opened a class to teach martial arts experience. Is this true or false? Some dragons were shocked when they heard the news, because the previous martial arts champions were basically very cold characters. They usually did not pay attention to other dragons. Even if there were dragons who wanted to learn from them, they would never pay attention. But this Master Mateto, who could be called one of the strongest masters in history, was actually willing to open a class to teach martial arts. He was simply a super invincible dragon, a dragon with the heart of Buddha. My God, if this is the case, this is a peerless opportunity. Yes, that's right. If we can learn one or two moves from Master Mateto, then we can simply benefit infinitely. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and sign up. All the dragons were extremely excited. This was the so-called celebrity effect. No matter what he did, people would flock to him. He was much better than the other nameless dragons. Wait, damn. A class actually costs 10,000 dragon crystals. Why doesn't this Master Mateto rob? Some dragons clicked on Master Mateto's homepage, which listed the courses they wanted to learn from Master Mateto. It cost 10,000 dragon crystals, no bargaining. Suddenly many dragons were stunned, because for ordinary dragons, 10,000 dragon crystals was simply an astronomical number, almost their living expenses for hundreds of years. Now a class actually cost 10,000 dragon crystals. If this was not robbery, then what was? Damn, it's too exaggerated. Just learning from him costs 10,000 dragon crystals. Who can afford it? This Master Mateto is crazy about money. He actually has such a big appetite. Is he not afraid of being stuffed to death? Who would go to such a course? Who doesn't have so much money that they have nowhere to spend it? Look, it's not just 10,000 dragon crystals. That's just the low-level course. The intermediate course seems to need 30,000 dragon crystals. The high-level course seems to need 100,000 dragon crystals. My God, this is robbery. A group of dragons cursed. They were very angry. Originally they wanted to learn something from Master Mateto, but they did not expect that it would cost at least 10,000 dragon crystals. It was simply trying to scare the dragons to death. This was like a bucket of cold water, dousing all of their enthusiasm. 10,000 dragon crystals was already scary enough. But now, the advanced course also required 100,000 dragon crystals. This was clearly daylight robbery. Which idiot would be willing to buy such a trashy course? It was simply nonsense. Wait a moment. Look at the requirements of the course. Only Lightning Tribulation Realm dragons will be taught. And there's a 100% guarantee that they'll be able to make a breakthrough to Sempiternal Realm. 100% guarantee to reach the Sempiternal Realm? What a joke. How could Master Mateto make such a promise? Even the invincible dragons of the Dragon God Shrine wouldn't dare to make such a promise. Many dragons were shocked. In fact, even though the giant dragons of the Dragon Realm had superior aptitudes, there were also a lot of ordinary dragons and pseudo-dragons. They would always be trapped in the Lightning Retribution Realm like other life forms, unable to break through until their lifespans were exhausted. It would not be an exaggeration to say that these ordinary colossal dragons yearned to reach Sempiternal Realm and transcend the limits of their lifespan. The problem was that the bloodline restrictions of dragons were more severe than they had imagined. Basically, their future development was determined the moment they were born. Of course, there were dragons that broke through the bloodline restrictions, but such existences could be counted on one hand. One could imagine how crazy these giant dragons were. 10,000 dragon crystals might seem like a lot, but for those giant dragons who were already in the bottleneck of the Lightning Retribution Realm, it was nothing at all. If they could be given a chance to break through, even if they had to spend all their fortune, it wouldn't be a problem. What was 10,000 dragon crystals? It was just a drop in the bucket. Wait, there seems to be a clause below. Master Mateto solemnly promises that if after buying this course, you can't break through within 20 years, then all the dragon crystals that you paid for the course will be returned without any objection. Some dragons carefully read the above clause. What? As soon as this clause came out, It immediately made all the dragons excited. 20 years for the giant dragons was nothing more than a snap of the fingers, passing in the blink of an eye. Moreover, they were worried that this course would have no effect, and that Master Mateto was just bragging. After all, 10,000 dragon crystals was not a small number, and not any dragon could afford it. However, things were different now. If there was no effect, he could actually return all the dragon crystals after 20 years. That would be incredible. In other words, even if they paid 100,000 dragon crystals, it didn't matter. They would get a chance to learn from the martial arts champion. If they succeeded in breaking through, what was 100,000 dragon crystals? For the giant dragons with infinite lifespan, a mere 100,000 dragon crystals was just a drop in the bucket. This was naturally a happy ending. If there was no breakthrough, or even no effect, then after 20 years, these dragon crystals would be returned. Thinking about it, they didn't lose anything. Instead, the benefits were endless. If they succeeded, they could reach the sky in a single bound. If they failed, they could at least recover the loss of these dragon crystals, and they could also learn from the martial arts champion. This was simply a good thing that fell from the sky. My God, there is actually such a good thing in this world. Whether it succeeds or fails, we won't lose anything. I already said that this Master Mateto is not the kind of dragon that fell into the dragon crystal. He is a good dragon. What kind of confidence is this? He actually dares to say that if there is no effect, then all the tuition fees will be returned. From this, it is enough to prove Master Mateto's confidence. I am afraid that he really may have mastered the secret method that can promote the Lightning Retribution Realm giant dragons to the immortal realm. Otherwise, how would he dare to say such words? Indeed, it seems that this course is really worth buying. Isn't it? If there is no effect, then after 20 years, all the dragon crystals will be returned, and we won't lose anything. Unfortunately, I am not a Lightning Retribution Realm giant dragon, so I can't meet the requirements of the course. Otherwise, I really want to try and see what method Master Mateto has mastered to promote to the immortal realm. Enough nonsense, I'd better hurry up and sign up. I don't know if there is a limit to the number of people. Many giant dragons were excited, and all of them showed a fanatical look. Especially those giant dragons who had been trapped in the Lightning Retribution realm for an unknown period of time. They were even more crazy. To be honest, if there was a dangerous place where there might be a treasure that could help them break through to the immortal realm, they would not hesitate to go in and take the risk, even at the cost of their lives. Now there was no need to mention a mere 10,000 dragon crystals, which was much better than paying the price of their lives. It was no less than a fortuitous encounter. Chapter 2441. In just a few days, the news of Master Mateto's class immediately shocked everyone in Tyrannical City. Even the dragons in other virtual cities had heard about it. What surprised Xia Ping was that most of the giant dragons actually chose the advanced courses that cost 100,000 dragon crystals. Only a small portion, or even a handful of poor dragons, chose the courses that cost 10,000 dragon crystals or 30,000 dragon crystals. Obviously, these dragons also knew that you get what you pay for. No one knew better than them about their desire to advance to the immortal realm. Since they had this opportunity, of course they would pay the advanced course. Otherwise, what would they do if they couldn't break through? They would not lose this opportunity to break through to the immortal realm just because of a momentary advantage. As long as they could break through to the immortal realm, 100,000 dragon crystals was nothing. They knew this very well. It was like if ordinary people had the opportunity to pay 100,000 dragon crystals, they would definitely be able to get into Peking University, Tsinghua University, Harvard University, and Cambridge University. Because of this, in just a few days, more than 10,000 Thunder Calamity Dragons had signed up, and the amount of the tuition had reached the level of 1 billion dragon crystals. If this amount of money were to be spread out, it would simply frighten countless dragons. Even for the sacred dragons, this was an astronomical amount of money. Back then, the Blackwind stronghold had robbed for God knows how many years, and their total net worth might not even be this much. This was enough to make countless sacred dragons jealous. Unfortunately, Xiaoping was very good at keeping secrets. He would not let other dragons know that he had earned so many dragon crystals. Otherwise, who knew how many sacred dragons would covet it? This super liar. Yi Mingyao was speechless when she saw this scene. She was completely convinced by this super liar Xiaoping. He was indeed a natural super liar. And now he had even deceived the heads of the dragons. To be honest, even if such a scam appeared in the human universe, a large group of people would be fooled, without exception. That was because it was simply too deceptive. First of all, it was 100% help to break through to the immortal realm. As soon as this sentence came out, those who had been trapped in the Thunder Calamity realm, for God knows how long, would flock to this. Even if they knew that this might be a scam, they still wanted to try it. Just like cancer patients, they clearly knew that the miracle doctor could cure cancer was fake, but they were still willing to believe that it might be true, even if there was only a 1 in a billion chance. What else could he do? Wait for death. Similarly, even if those Thunder Retribution dragons continued to cultivate, they would not have any chance of breaking through. In that case, they might as well give it a try. Most importantly, the second clause was actually a 100% refund if he failed. This was simply a scam. The group of dragons cheered happily, thinking that they would not lose out. However, if he thought about it seriously, even though it would take him 20 years to return all the money, what if this bastard ran away with the money? In 2 years, the dragons would probably lose everything. Taking 10,000 steps back, Xiaoping did not need to run at all. This was because after he obtained these dragon crystals, he could use them to make other investments and accumulate interest, making money continuously. It was like getting an interest-free loan for 20 years. No matter how you put it in the bank, you could still earn interest. So what if he returned all the money after 20 years? Just the money alone would be a huge profit for him. What scammer? This is a business, you and I are willing. Xiaoping said carelessly. It's just like idols. Those fans clearly know that they can't get them, but they are still willing to give. I give them hope, and they give me money. This is very fair. I'm actually not selling some martial arts experience as a teacher, but rather, I'm selling dreams. Do you understand? Dreams my ass. Yi Mingyao looked at Xiaoping in disdain. This was something that only a scammer would say. Only a fool would believe him. This scoundrel really couldn't even believe a single punctuation mark. It was all fake. Fortunately, she had long known the true colors of this scoundrel. Otherwise, she would have been deceived and willingly offered money. However, even if this course is fake, you still have to really open a class, right? Otherwise, you will be exposed immediately. How do you plan to teach those dragons? Yi Mingyao asked. This is simple. I have already prepared a cultivation plan. Xiaoping waved his hand and immediately took out a series of plans. This, Yi Mingyao took a look and was instantly stunned. Dumbfounded was not enough to describe her current state of stupefaction. Daily training plan: 100,000 push-ups, 100,000 sit-ups, 100,000 squats, and 100,000 kilometers of weight-bearing running every day. Xiaoping, aren't you bullshitting? What kind of bullshit plan is this? How can people believe this? Aren't you afraid of being torn apart by angry dragons? Yi Mingyao was stunned. She felt that this training plan was too ordinary. It was so ordinary that it made her hair stand on end. Any Thunder Calamity Realm expert could easily do this. Or in other words, the Thunder Calamity Dragon who couldn't do it was an idiot. This is not bullshitting. Ordinary things, if you persist for a long time, then it will not be ordinary, Xiaoping said confidently. At first, they might not believe it and even be skeptical. But it doesn't matter. After a period of time, I will find someone to help me. I will say that because he went through a period of training, he reached Immortal Realm. You still want to find someone to help you? Yi Mingyao was stunned. This bastard really did have a series of follow-up plans. Of course I have to find someone to help me. If not, how can I attract the rest of the dragons and achieve the small goal of earning 100 billion dragon crystals? Xiaoping said carelessly. At that time, he would find a cultivating dragon and give him an immortal fruit to help him reach Immortal Realm. It was not hard to imagine that the Thunder Calamity Dragon would be grateful and help him spread the news everywhere. This would also become a huge demonstration effect, tempting the other Thunder Calamity Dragons, as if they were injected with chicken blood. Of course, an immortal fruit was not cheap, but to earn 100 billion dragon crystals, it was worth it. This was the so-called you can't catch the wolf without sacrificing the child. If one wanted to make money, they would need some initial investment. This is just the primary course, right? What about the intermediate course and advanced course? Yi Mengyao asked. Very simple. The intermediate course will have 3 times the training load, and the advanced course will have 10 times the training load. This is increasing the training load and the price. Xiaoping stretched out a finger. Damn liar. Looking at Xiaoping speechlessly, Yi Mengyao could only squeeze out this sentence after holding it in for a long time. She could imagine how aggrieved those dragons were. They had spent 100,000 dragon crystals to buy a martial arts course, but it was no different from an advanced course. If those dragons knew about this, they would definitely vomit 3 liters of blood. This was really too much. Chapter 2442. Soon, the dragons who bought the advanced course received the daily training plan sent by Xiaoping. They couldn't wait to watch it, but they were immediately dumbfounded, because the plan was simply unimaginable. It was so simple that it made their hair stand on end. They immediately felt like they had been deceived. What kind of bullshit plan is this? Every day, 100,000 push-ups, 100,000 sit-ups, 100,000 squats, 100,000 kilometers of weight-bearing run. Any dragon can do it. And you said that this is a training plan to break through to immortal. Isn't this bullshit? A dragon immediately cursed. It felt like it was cheated, spending 100,000 dragon crystals to buy such a plan. It was better to throw the dragon crystals into the water. At least it could hear the sound. Yeah, what kind of joke is this? Doing this kind of training can promote to immortal. Then the whole world will be full of immortal dragons. Is this Master Mateto fooling us? Many dragons felt like they were fooled. It was simply a bellyful of anger. It's over, it's over. I already said, this kind of plan can't fool the dragons. It will soon be exposed. Yi Mengyao also saw the group of dragons surging. It looked like they wanted to go to their door to ask for a refund. She felt that she and Xiaoping might be dead. Maybe they would be chased by tens of thousands of dragons everywhere, coming to their door to collect debts. Shut up. At this time, Xiaoping stood up and took the initiative. You guys know shit. Do you know why you can't promote to immortal? Obviously, your magic power and spirit have reached the peak state. But there is such a heavy obstacle, preventing you from promoting to immortal. I have studied for so long, and finally understood. It is because your physical fitness is not enough, completely not enough. It is not compatible with your magic power and soul. Only when the soul, magic power and body are united, reaching a state of perfect balance, can you have the chance to transform at the peak and promote to immortal. This. When the dragons heard this, they were immediately stunned, as if they were enlightened. It seemed that they also began to feel that Master Mateto's words were somewhat reasonable. They couldn't say any words to refute. The reason why I drew up this basic training plan is because I hope that you can pay attention to your basics and temper your body to the point where it's like an Arhat Vajra. Xiaoping made a pained expression. To be honest, we dragons are indeed very talented, far surpassing all the other races in the universe. But why are there so few immortal dragons? It's because we rely too much on the dragon race's innate talent and neglect the greatest degree of training and development of our bodies, thinking that we can rely on our innate talent to suppress everything. However, the truth is not like this. In this universe, there are races with weak talents, who knows how many times weaker than us dragons. However, they still rely on their own efforts to refine themselves to the limit, lingering between life and death, thus becoming immortal. Some can even cultivate the martial path to a level that far surpasses most dragons. Since these weak creatures could do it, why couldn't the WYRMS, who were even more talented, do the same? Tell me, why is this happening? Hearing this, these dragons were simply dumbfounded and speechless. Indeed, as Master Mateto said, The weak races of the universe were like carps crossing the river. Compared to their dragon clan, their talents were many times worse. But these races could still give birth to immortals. As for them, they could only be trapped in this bottleneck. Was it because of their innate talent? No, the WRM's innate talent was higher than any other race. There was no doubt about it. Was it because of the cultivation resources? No, was there a better cultivation environment than the dragon realm in this universe? In that case, why did this happen? Their innate talent was high, and they had enough resources, but they still couldn't become immortals. Why? It didn't make sense at all. The WRMs weren't trash. Many WRMs couldn't help but clench their fists. Their hearts were shaken. At this moment, Yi Mengyao, who was next to them, also saw this scene. She was simply dumbfounded. My God, what the hell was this? This bastard's mouth was even more powerful than an invincible saint. Just a few words and these WRMs were stunned. I'll tell you why. It's because you lack training and the foundation of martial arts. Xia Ping yelled as a terrifying light flashed in his eyes, as if he could pierce through the void. He exuded the aura of a martial Dao Grand Master. The beginning of everything in the martial Dao realm is the foundation. As the saying goes, a tall building is built from the ground. If the foundation is not stable, no matter how tall, how big, or how fast the building is, it will collapse sooner or later. It's also because you don't pay attention to the foundation, eating and drinking all day, sleeping after eating, eating after sleeping. If you can still reach immortal like this, then who can't? Relying on the WRM's innate talent, you can pass your days by lying down all the way to Lightning Realm. But if you want to reach immortal, you can only dream. With a paw, a WRMs laid on the ground and cried, Master, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Only today did I realize how wrong I was. That's right. Relying on the WRM's innate talent, we slept all the way to Lightning Realm. We never worked hard. Master is right. Innate talent can't be used as food. I didn't expect Master's training plan to be so profound. It's basically enlightening us from the root. Listening to Master's words is better than reading books for 10 years. I seem to have been enlightened. We will definitely train strictly according to this plan. We will never disappoint Master's expectations. One by one, the WRMs were convinced. They also felt that Master Matato's words were too reasonable. It was simply impeccable. They couldn't find any flaws at all. Don't look at this training plan as simple as it seemed. The Great Tao is simple. Often, breaking through the bottleneck of martial path didn't lie in those long principles, but in very simple theories. Sleeping all the way to Lightning Realm. Hearing this, Xia Ping's mouth twitched. The innate talent of these WRMs really made people jealous. Ordinary humans who wanted to reach Lightning Realm needed to go through 9981 tribulations. It was unknown how many life and death battles and dangers they had to go through. Moreover, they might not necessarily be able to advance. This was basically the peak achievement of mortals. But these WRMs were good. They only ate and slept all day. Sleeping and then eating, they could easily advance to Lightning Realm. This was really infuriating. The two couldn't be compared at all. Well, since you know the profound meaning of my basic plan, go and train. Remember to temper your body to the extreme. Reach the point where you can't advance anymore. That is when you will reach immortal. If you can't reach it, don't come back to see me. Xia Ping stood with his hands clasped behind his back, revealing the demeanor of a martial Dao master. Chapter 2443. 3 months passed by in the blink of an eye. Xia Ping's martial arts lessons were still going on. Because he was the champion of the martial arts competition, he was very famous. Countless dragons came from other cities to buy his lessons. Up to this day, they had sold up to 10 billion dragon crystals. If this number were to be spread out, many dragons would be frightened. Even the total wealth of a dragon that had reached the immemorial ancient realm might not be that much. But now fewer and fewer dragons came to buy his lessons. After all, only a few dragons had this kind of wealth. Moreover, his fame only covered some nearby cities, not the entire dragon world. In any case, the dragon world was too big. Even with the virtual network that could shorten the distance, it was still difficult to communicate with each other. It was just like the Earth in his previous life. Although it was also in the age of network, people rarely paid attention to news from other countries, such as Cambodia, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and so on. Not to mention news from countries as far away as Africa. Seems like it's time to add some fuel to the fire and stimulate the sales. Xiaoping touched his chin. He decided to start the support plan. He asked Yi Mengyao to pretend to be the Thunder Calamity Dragon that attended his lessons. And after his training, she had already reached the immemorial realm. He believed that with this support, this example would definitely attract more dragons to buy his lessons, speeding up the small goal of earning 100 billion dragon crystals. The next day, a piece of news spread like wildfire throughout the entire tyrannical dragon city. It was unstoppable. Oh my god, did you hear? A Thunder Calamity Dragon that attended the martial arts competition champion Master Matato's lesson seems to have reached the immemorial realm. Some dragons spread the news. It can't be right. Is it that extremely expensive martial arts course that is said to be a scam to death? A dragon actually broke through the immemorial realm? How is that possible? It's true. That dragon has come out and said it. It seems to be a female dragon. She even held a press conference. The news has spread all over Tyrannical City. Quick, let's go and see what's going on. Countless dragons were shocked when they heard the news. They all went over to watch the show. At this moment, at the press conference, Yi Mengyao and Xiaoping were standing on the podium. Below them, a large number of dragons from Balong City had appeared. All of them had come to watch the show. May I know if you managed to advance to Sempiternal Realm after attending Master Matato's lessons? A dragon asked eagerly. Yes. Yi Mengyao was incomparably sullen. She was forced by Xiaoping to be a scapegoat. But she had no choice but to lower her head under the eaves. She really had no choice but to agree to Xiaoping's request. After all, everyone was in the same boat. I was originally an ordinary female dragon with no aptitude. All I did was eat and sleep all day. I didn't even have a boyfriend. I've been single since I was in my mother's womb. I'm an extremely failed dragon. Yi Mengyao recited the lines that Xiaoping had written for her. Although she was very sullen, she still read them out enthusiastically. I used to be looked down upon by my family, by my classmates, by my teachers. They thought that my dragon life was a failure. I even thought that my life was over. I couldn't even find a boyfriend. Because no male dragon would like a useless female dragon like me. But since I met Master Matato, he was simply a bright light in my dark dragon life. He showed me the way forward, illuminated the future for me, and I also gained infinite courage. It was because I attended Master Matato's training course that I got this opportunity to change my fate and change my dragon life. Without Master Matato, there would be no me. So I'm very grateful to him and his ancestors. After saying these words, she looked at Xiaoping with a murderous gaze. What the hell was going on? This shameless man could even write such words. He was really shameless to the extreme. He simply said that she was not good at all. But now that she was being watched by tens of thousands of people, she couldn't show such emotions. She could only keep smiling. Right now, she just hoped that this press conference would end as soon as possible. Although Yi Mengyao felt that these words were very melodramatic, but when other dragons heard it, it was different. What they heard was hot blood. What they heard was the counterattack of a failed dragon to a successful dragon. What they heard was hope. Hey, you're too polite. These are all things that I should do as a teacher. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back, revealing a modest look. In fact, buying my course has such an effect. There are such benefits. If you don't get 3/3, you wouldn't dare to go to Liangshan. Otherwise, you can sell it for a high price of 100,000 dragon crystals. You get what you pay for. This is my course. He waved his hand, indicating that this was a matter of course. It was nothing at all. Yi Mingyao's mouth couldn't help but twitch. This guy's face was even thicker than the city wall. No way. This course is actually real. It can really make Thunder Retribution advance to Immortal. Oh my god. How long has it been since the beginning? It's only been 3 months, and I can actually advance to Immortal. Even flying ships can't be this fast. Originally, I thought that 100,000 dragon crystals was too expensive. It was simply an astronomical amount. I simply couldn't bear to pay it. If it can really make me advance to immortal, I would even sell my pots and pans to participate. Yes, this is a huge opportunity to change a dragon's life. Once you advance to immortal, all your relatives and friends who look down on you will immediately look at you in a different light and flatter you. That's right. It doesn't matter even if your previous dragon life was a failure. Once you succeed, everything before will vanish. You will become an immortal dragon. Many dragons were very excited. They were all very fanatical. Some dragons who were participating in Master Matato's course were also very excited when they saw this press conference. To be honest, after 3 months of training, they were a little tired. They even began to doubt whether this course was real or not, and whether it was effective. But now, Yi Mingyao's appearance suddenly gave them a shot in the arm. This was the effect of a role model. But there were also some dragons who doubted. Is it real or fake? He can advance to immortal in less than 3 months. Don't tell me he found an immortal dragon somewhere. How can lightning retribution advance to immortal be so fast? It's really strange. Since when did lightning retribution advance to immortal become so simple? That's right. If it was really that simple, the dragon world would have been full of immortal dragons already. Some dragons were skeptical. They always doubted Yi Mingyao and Xiaoping's words. They felt that this matter was very strange. There was something fishy everywhere. Chapter 2444. It seems that there are still many dragons who don't believe it. Xiaoping touched his chin. After the conference, many dragons were attracted to buy the courses, but it was not as popular as he had imagined. Some dragons were still skeptical about this matter, and did not believe that Xiaoping could do such a thing. However, this was also within his expectations, because this was just the beginning. It was the starting point of a plan to give some dragons some psychological preparation. I still need to find a retribution level dragon that everyone is familiar with, and then secretly help it become immortal. Only then can it cause a huge sensation. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. This retribution level dragon had to meet 3 characteristics. The first characteristic was that it had to be a household name. It had to be the kind that many dragons were familiar with, so that people would not think that this was a sudden thing, and that the other party was a fake. It had to be very credible. The second characteristic was that it had to be trash. If the talent was very good, then breaking through would be a natural thing. However, if the talent was trash, then breaking through to immortal would be a huge sensation. For example, it was not a big deal for students with good academic performance to be admitted to Tsinghua University. This was a matter of course. However, some gangsters with poor academic performance, or even 0 scores, were admitted to Tsinghua University. This was very surprising. This was something that could be on the news. The third characteristic was that one had to believe that Master Matato's training method was real and practice hard. Only then would the other party think that it was Master Matato's contribution and be willing to help promote it. Only then could the effectiveness of the training method be proven, and more dragons would be attracted. Earth Dragon Darius. Xiaoping searched all the information, and after continuous screening, he finally found a dragon that met all the requirements, and that was Earth Dragon Darius. Speaking of Earth Dragon Darius, she was a well-known female dragon in White Dragon City. Because she was born in a big family in White Dragon City, she was extremely talented, but she suddenly fell sick, which caused the giant dragon bloodline in her body to weaken, and she became a subdragon. To be honest, it was unheard of for a giant dragon to devolve into a subdragon in the past billions of eras. Therefore, it shocked White Dragon City and even the Dragon God Shrine. Unfortunately, no matter how hard the holy dragons of the Dragon God Shrine searched, they could not find the real reason for the weakening of Darius's bloodline. In the end, they chose to give up. But for Darius, this was only the beginning of her nightmare. First of all, her childhood sweetheart, a male dragon who had a marriage alliance with her, announced to all the dragons in White Dragon City that he had broken off his engagement with her. He said that he couldn't accept her as a lesser dragon, and that if she joined his family, she would definitely taint his family's bloodline. Following that, her status in the family dropped abruptly. Previously, she was an earth dragon with a noble bloodline. She was extremely talented and was doted on. However, after her bloodline degenerated into that of a subdragon, such treatment immediately disappeared. The cultivation resources that she occupied were immediately snatched away by the other siblings in the family. In an instant, she went from being a proud daughter of the heavens to a dragon that no one cared about and was looked down upon. The family could not afford to lose face and could not bear the humiliation of having their marriage annulled by another family. So they found an excuse to banish Darius from the family tree. This made Darius the laughingstock of White Dragon City, and even the nearby area for billions of light years. Everyone knew that a female dragon with a declining bloodline had appeared in White Dragon City. However, Darius, who had suffered all kinds of humiliation, was not willing to accept it. She was not willing to be a subdragon for the rest of her life. She cultivated with all her might and tried everything to become stronger, hoping to reclaim her honor. She wanted to shock those who looked down on her. She wanted the male dragon who had broken off the engagement, and the elder, who had banished her from the family, to regret it for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, the subdragon bloodline was too weak. It caused her to have poor talent and slow cultivation speed. After being banished from the family, she had no cultivation resources. No matter how hard she tried, reaching the peak stage of tribulation lightning was already her limit. She probably would not be able to break through in this lifetime. As a matter of fact, in the dragon world, there were too few examples of a semi-dragon breaking through to the immortal realm. They could be counted on one's fingers. Almost all the dragons believed that a semi-dragon could never become an immortal realm expert, and that the Thunder Tribulation was the limit of the semi-dragon bloodline. This was also one of the shackles of the bloodline. It was too difficult to break through the bloodline shackles. At first, Darius was desperate, thinking that she would not have the chance to become immortal realm in this lifetime. However, after seeing Master Matato's training course, she was desperate. She took out her savings of many years to buy a course worth 100,000 dragon crystals. During these 3 months, she also worked very hard. She cultivated almost every day and tempered her body to the limit, hoping that one day she could become immortal realm. Interesting. This is the Wastrel Female Dragon Edition. Such a famous Wastrel female dragon has turned over a new leaf and reached the immortal realm just because she has cultivated a martial-style cultivation method. Won't this cause a sensation in Tyrant Dragon City, or even the whole dragon realm? Xiaoping touched his chin. He decided to list Darius as the lucky one. Since she believed in his martial art training method so much, he naturally had to return the favor. This was a mutual benefit. Whoosh. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate. After finding out where Darius lived, he immediately flew to where she was. An hour later, Xiaoping arrived at Darius's shabby residence. This was the famous slum of White Dragon City. Basically, only poor dragons would live in this place, because the rent here was cheap. At this moment, Darius was cultivating hard in her room. She kept doing basic training without slacking off. There was no confusion in her eyes. Day after day, her willpower was extremely firm. Buzz, in an instant, a layer of illusion immediately gushed out from Xiaoping's body and enveloped the room. His illusion power could not even be resisted by a giant dragon who had reached the Middle Ancient Realm. As a Thunder Retribution Realm expert, Darius could not resist such an illusion power at all. With a bang, Darius immediately fainted on the ground. She fell unconscious and fell into the illusion. She had no idea what had just happened. What a lucky female dragon. This immortal fruit belongs to you now. Xiaoping took out an immortal fruit and immediately placed it in Darius's mouth. Whoosh! As soon as the immortal fruit entered Darius's mouth, it melted in her mouth. A large amount of immortal substance immediately rushed into Darius's limbs and bones. In an instant, Darius, who had already reached the limit of the Thunder Retribution Realm and could not go any further, was now becoming stronger at a speed visible to the naked eye. Obviously, the immortal fruit had played an incredible and mysterious role. Whoosh! Xiaoping did not continue to pay attention to it. His figure flashed and immediately left this place. Chapter 2445. The next day, the news that Darius, the daughter of a big family, had her marriage annulled by a male dragon and her bloodline deteriorated, had ascended to the immortal realm, shook the entire White Dragon City. This was simply too shocking, and countless dragons found it hard to believe. The news spread like wildfire throughout White Dragon City, and even dragons within a radius of hundreds of millions of light years knew about this. No way. Is this a joke? Didn't they say that Darius's bloodline deteriorated to that of a sub-dragon? She became the only good-for-nothing among the dragons, unable to ascend to the immortal realm for the rest of her life. What's going on? How did she suddenly ascend to the immortal realm? Some dragons wondered if the news was fake or just a rumor. Yeah, this is so strange. Because of her bloodline deteriorating, even the Dragon God Shrine sent dragons to investigate, but they couldn't find anything. Many dragons thought that she would never reach the Thunder Retribution Realm. After all, it's impossible for a sub-dragon to ascend to the immortal realm. Some dragons said in a low voice. The news of Darius's bloodline deteriorating was so shocking that even the Dragon God Shrine was alerted. Almost every dragon in White Dragon City knew about Darius's name and achievements. It's true. Countless dragons in the slums have seen it, a dragon said. Yesterday, in the slums of White Dragon City, Darius suddenly became stronger and attracted the Thunder Retribution. She finally passed it and ascended to the immortal realm, gaining an immortal body. Many dragons witnessed Darius ascending to the immortal realm with their own eyes. This can't be faked. My god, Darius, who has a sub-dragon bloodline, can ascend to the immortal realm? What kind of joke is this? She ascended to the immortal realm in a single step. Some dragons were jealous. Even the male dragon who broke off the engagement with Darius hasn't ascended to the immortal realm. How can Darius do such an unbelievable thing? No matter how much humiliation and disdain she had suffered in the past, after reaching the immortal realm, now her identity had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. He wants to come back and bask in her glory. Immortal realm, as the saying goes, wasn't enough to describe the intensity of this change. Isn't that right? Of course, hypocrisy is disgusting. After Darius became an immortal, will she? Countless
Of course
forces
she
wanted
didn't
her
agree.
to join them.
Instead,
Even
she
the
sent
dragon
messenger
god
flying
personally
with a kick.
invited her.
Darius said that
A
they had
dragon
already
sighed and
broken
said,
off all ties.
"It seems that the
Well
family
done.
that expelled
That's what you
Darius
should
seems
do."
to have sent a dragon
Many
to her
dragons
door,
discussed among
hoping
themselves.
that Darius can return
They were
to the
all
family
very
tree.
emotional about Darius'
It felt that
experience.
Darius had completely
Their feelings
turned over
were
a
also
new
very
leaf.
complicated.
She had gone from
because
a
they
loser
were
to a
also
winner.
one of the people
The
who
speed
had
of her
mocked Darius
change was
before.
just too fast.
They had a kind of
He's really
condescending
shameless.
attitude.
Back
However,
then,
he
seeing
despised
Darius
Darius
make
for
a
having a
fortune
draconic
and reach the
bloodline,
immortal realm
and in the
one
end
step,
he kicked her out.
they felt very upset. Even Darius, who only had a draconic bloodline, could become an immortal realm expert. Then what were they? But how did Darius become an immortal realm expert? I always feel that this matter is a bit strange. Normally, a draconic bloodline cannot become an immortal realm expert, right? Some dragons felt that there was an unspeakable secret behind this matter. Actually, I heard that Darius bought Master Matato's training course and spent a total of 100,000 dragon crystals to cultivate day and night, a dragon said mysteriously. As a result, after a long period of accumulation, she actually comprehended something and finally broke through to the immortal realm. No way, really? I've heard of this before, but it's too expensive to require 100,000 dragon crystals. Moreover, I'm also very skeptical about its training effects. I didn't expect it to actually be able to achieve such a thing. Hehe, you are already behind the times. In fact, Darius is not the first dragon to obtain the effect. Previously, Master Matato had held a press conference, and a dragon had already become an immortal realm expert under his training. Oh my god, is this training method really that effective? If it is not effective, do you think those dragons are all fools? They are willing to spend 100,000 dragon crystals to buy this course. In fact, it is not buying the course at all. It is clearly paying for a chance to exchange with Master Matato. Because of this, Darius turned over a new leaf. If it is really effective, then 100,000 dragon crystals is really not expensive. Not only is it not expensive, it is just a drop in the ocean. After becoming an immortal realm expert, you will have an infinite lifespan. Isn't it easy to earn 100,000 dragon crystals? Moreover, if this course is not effective, you can still get a refund after 20 years. Oh my god, you can get a refund? In other words, if there is no effect and I cannot become an immortal realm expert, then you can get 100,000 dragon crystals back. Doesn't this mean that we will not lose anything? Is this Master Matato a fool? He actually made such a strenuous and unrewarding deal. Who knows what Master Matato is thinking? Maybe he is a good dragon and wants to preach to the world. In that case, this course is worth buying. 100,000 dragon crystals for a future, this is a good deal. We have to buy this course as soon as possible. It is said that Master Matato feels that there are too many people. It seems that he wants to limit the number of dragons who buy the course. If we are one step late, even if we have the money, we will not be able to buy it. What? I can't continue to chat with you. I have to hurry and buy the course. This kind of conversation not only appeared in White Dragon City, but also spread to various places in the dragon world through the internet. They were all shocked by Darius's deeds. Even a useless dragon with a subdragon bloodline could actually become an immortal realm expert after being trained by Master Matato. If it was them, their bloodline was nobler, and they were more talented dragons. Wouldn't they be able to ascend at any time? What was even more shameless was that when he saw that there were too many dragons coming, he directly used hunger marketing, saying that there was a limit to the number of people who could buy the course each day. What was the most precious thing? Naturally, it was something that could not be bought with money. In this way, it made the dragons even more crazy. Each of them was afraid that they would not be able to grasp the opportunity to become an immortal realm expert. So they swarmed over, as if 100,000 dragon crystals were not money. Chapter 2446. Protest. Protest. Why are you restricting the purchase of courses? You're right. Why can't we buy them even if we have the money? This is too much. Discrimination. This is discrimination. Dragons swarmed over. They were dragons from all over the dragon world. They had been stuck in the Thunder Calamity realm for God knows how long. Now that they heard there was a way to ascend to immortal realm, They all came over in a frenzy. For these dragons, 100,000 dragon crystals was child's play. After all, they had lived for hundreds of thousands of years and accumulated an astonishing amount of wealth. They just lacked a chance to ascend to a mortal realm. However, Xiaoping's sudden hunger marketing made these dragons anxious. They were afraid that they wouldn't be able to ascend to a mortal realm for the rest of their lives if they couldn't buy the courses. It was just like when the real estate market was booming. Countless people took the money to buy a house. They were afraid that they wouldn't be able to buy a house. Even though they had millions, they still had to queue up all night. Such a scene was so similar. Crazy. These dragons are crazy. Yi Mingyao was speechless. She didn't know how to describe this scene. Thunder Calamity Realm dragons were crying and shouting to give Xiaoping money. She had never thought of such a thing. Everyone knew that it was very difficult to ascend to a mortal realm. Even if one's talent was excellent, he might not be able to ascend. If one's talent was low, then there was no chance. Dragons that could ascend to a mortal realm were 1 in a million. There was no way in this world that could guarantee a 100% promotion. Even if there was such a way, the price would be extremely high. However, these dragons didn't consider this point. Perhaps they were completely driven crazy by the fact that Darius could ascend to a mortal realm. Because even a sub-dragon could ascend to a mortal realm, why couldn't these dragons with better talent? This was completely unreasonable. They didn't think that they would lose to a sub-dragon. As proud dragons with dragon bloodline, they wouldn't lose to any other race. My God, how is this making money? Even a money printing machine can't make money this fast. Seeing the endless stream of dragon crystals, Yi Mingyao was simply numb. If these dragon crystals were placed in the outside world, they would definitely be fought over by all the major races. After all, dragon crystals contain traces of the dragon world's origin. It was like the origin energy of the universe. After devouring it, even sages could obtain great benefits. This was even more so for ordinary humans. If they had the opportunity to devour a dragon crystal and obtain the dragon race's source energy within it, they would be able to cleanse their bodies, get rid of impurities, and improve their aptitude. However, such dragon crystals were piled up like a mountain in front of him, and he could pick them up easily. If other sages were to see this scene, they would definitely go crazy. Based on the current situation, it was not just 100 billion dragon crystals. They might even be able to earn trillions of dragon crystals. It was unimaginable how much these dragons desired to ascend to immortality. This was what they truly needed. So now that he thought about it carefully, 100 billion dragon crystals was really just a small target. What a universe-level liar. Yi Mingyao was completely convinced by Xiaoping, this damn liar. No matter where he went, he would always be able to get along well, deceiving the local people. And the other party even thought that he had made a profit. However, she thought about it again. If this scam was exposed, then they would probably have to face the wrath of countless giant dragons. At that time, they would have nowhere to run. Maybe the dragon god shrine would send ancient dragons, or even primordial dragons to kill them. But now she was already in the same boat as Xiaoping. Deep in the game, how could she run away? She could only hope that they could escape in time, before the scam was exposed. However, looking at the fanatical looks of these dragons, it was estimated that they would not find out in a short period of time. Maybe after 20 years, these dragons would suddenly realize. But by that time, they would have already left the dragon realm, and what happened would have nothing to do with them. Thinking of this, Yi Mingyao could not help but feel a little relieved. She felt that not everyone could do this kind of thing. If their psychological quality was not enough, they would have already scared themselves to death. Don't worry, everyone has a chance. Hearing these dragons crying and shouting to make money for him, how could Xiaoping give up this opportunity? However, it was impossible for him to give up the hunger marketing strategy. If he really allowed them to buy, maybe these dragons would not feel that this opportunity was precious, and it would not cause such a big craze. It was precisely because they could not buy it that they would cherish it so much. Not being able to buy it was the most precious. So he decided that he would only open the opportunity to buy courses once a week. If he did not buy on this day, Then he would have to wait until next week. Thank you, Master Potato. Master Potato, you are simply the reincarnation of the dragon god. Yes, thank you, Master Potato, for giving us this opportunity. I am so grateful. Don't worry, we will definitely line up to buy it. Hearing these words, many dragons were overjoyed. They felt that they finally had a chance. One by one, they came forward to pay the money. Some even couldn't wait, and directly put down the deposit, hoping to be the first to buy it. Because of this, in just a week, Xiaoping earned 100 billion dragon crystals, and a large number of giant dragons from all over the dragon realm came, and he could harvest a steady stream of dragon crystals. This was just the beginning. I didn't expect to earn 100 billion dragon crystals so quickly. Xiaoping touched his chin. Originally, he planned to plunder a dragon vein. Although doing so would offend many holy dragons and cause the biggest trouble, it was the most efficient. But he did not expect that with just a little trick, these dragons could not wait to send the dragon crystals over. Moreover, this method was safe and risk-free, and it would not attract the attention of the dragon god shrine. He could also safely obtain a large number of dragon crystals and obtain endless benefits. Ao Wu, now that you have obtained 100 billion dragon crystals, is this enough for you to recover? If not, more dragon crystals will be sent over later. Xiaoping was very rich now. As expected of Master, you are really amazing. It has only been such a long time, and you have already earned 100 billion dragon crystals. The ancient heavenly dragon talisman's artifact spirit, Ao Wu, was now full of admiration. He had originally thought that he would need at least thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years to recover. After all, it was too difficult to obtain 100 billion dragon crystals. But now, only a few months had passed, and his master had earned 100 billion dragon crystals so easily. Furthermore, he hadn't offended any giant dragons. It was really unbelievable. Thinking of this, he said eagerly, "Don't worry, Master. With these 100 billion dragon crystals, I can completely recover from all my injuries and restore the glory of the ancient heavenly dragon talisman. But when I recover, I might cause a huge commotion, and I need to return to the mountain river Pearl, or I might alarm the holy dragons of the dragon god shrine." Chapter 2447. In the space of the mountain river Pearl. At that moment, there was a pile of 100 billion dragon crystals in an empty space. It was like a mountain and looked very majestic. There was rich dragon race source energy everywhere. The energy of the 100 billion dragon crystals was just too shocking. The energy that emanated from the surroundings seemed to form 1,000 energy dragons, as though they were 1,000 dragon veins. Vaguely, each dragon vein was covered in dense dragon race runes. They were unfathomably deep and emitted a powerful aura. Devour. The artifact spirit, Ao Wu, could not wait any longer. He immediately transformed into 3,000 primordial sky dragon talismans. Immediately, each talisman transformed into a primordial sky dragon and materialized. The 3,000 primordial sky dragons pounced forward and fused into the dragon veins formed by the dragon crystals, devouring them crazily. And the energy of the dragon crystals was rapidly vanishing at a discernible rate. Are they repairing the injuries of the primordial sky dragon talismans? From afar, Xiaoping was also watching as the primordial sky dragon talismans devoured the energy of the dragon crystals. Through his hell golden crow eye, He could see that there were indeed fine cracks in the depths of the 3,000 primordial sky dragon talismans. These cracks were almost invisible to the naked eye. They were like nomological injuries. If it were an ordinary sage artifact, it would have long shattered after suffering such injuries. However, the primordial sky dragon talismans were different. They were a peerless sage artifact, and were made of extremely tough materials. Even an invincible sage would not be able to completely destroy the primordial sky dragon talismans. They had the property of being indestructible. Even if they suffered such injuries, they could rapidly heal as long as they had enough energy. Rumble. After the primordial sky dragon talisman devoured the energy of the dragon crystals, an ancient,
it was
chaotic,
as though it had
powerful and mythical aura emanated
massive
from the
amounts of
3,000
dragon
primordial
resource
sky
energy,
dragons, surged
spreading
into
to
the
every
depths
corner
of the
of the mountain
mountain
and
and
river
river
pearl
talisman.
space.
And
Too
the
strong.
nomological injuries
mountain
were
river
healing
pearls
at a
artifact
discernible
spirit,
rate
under
under
the
the
nourishment
nourishment of the dragon race
although it
source
had
energy.
already risen to
All
the
the
level of a
materials were
high-grade
squirming
sacred
crazily,
artifact,
as though
and
they
was
had a
much
life of
stronger
their
than
own.
before.
This devouring
It was still a
process
far
took
cry
3
from a
days and
peerless
3
sacred
nights
artifact.
before the
If the
primordial
primordial
heavenly
heavenly
dragon
dragon
talisman
finished
was not
devouring the
controlled,
100 billion
just
dragon
its aura
crystals,
alone was enough to
its
shatter
internal
the space
injuries
of the
were
mountain
finally
river
healed
pearl,
completely,
easily destroying this
the
world.
primordial sky
Is this
dragon
the complete
talisman
primordial
roared in
heavenly
excitement
dragon talisman?
as it revealed a look
A
of
glint flashed
extreme
in
joy.
Xiaoping's eyes.
At the same time,
He could sense
the
the exact
3,000
situation
primordial
within
sky
the primordial
dragons
sky
roared in
dragon
unison,
talisman,
producing
at
a
that
deafening
moment
sound.
the primordial
entire
sky
space
dragon
of the beat of
talisman
mountains and
had
rivers
truly
trembled
become a
and
true
buzzed.
peerless saint
The
artifact.
roar of the primordial
The
sky dragon
3,000 primordial
reverberated
heavenly
everywhere,
dragon talisman
causing the ears
were
of
the
all living
embodiment of
beings
the
in the space
3,000
to ring.
primordial sky dragons, as well as the manifestation of the laws of the 3,000 universes. Furthermore, the laws of the 3,000 universes were gathered together, forming a complete and massive 3,000 worlds. It was as though their bodies had formed a primordial dragon world. If the power of the primordial heavenly dragon talisman was completely unleashed, it would be akin to the bombardment of the primordial dragon world. It would be invincible. Even the space-time laws of the medieval sages and the creation laws of the primordial sages were probably unable to affect the primordial dragon world. Only by advancing to the primordial sage realm and possessing the complete laws of the world would one be able to resist the primordial dragon world. It's too powerful. Xiaoping stared with widened eyes. Only now could he truly understand the power of a peerless saint artifact. Most importantly, every peerless saint artifact contained the complete laws of the universe, forming a world of its own within it. It was precisely because of this that the laws of space-time, creation, and other laws were unable to affect the power of laws within the peerless saint artifact. At most, they could resist each other. If he were to use the peerless saint artifact to attack the medieval sage, he would be able to instantly shatter the space-time domain of the other party, rendering him unable to take care of himself. This was the power of a peerless saint artifact. It had its own space within it, just like a small universe. The birth of every peerless saint artifact would incur the jealousy of the universe and be punished by the laws of the universe. This was a powerful Dharma treasure that could not be tolerated by heaven and earth. That was why there were so few peerless saint artifacts in the entire universe. This was almost the perfect form of a saint artifact. Master, actually, I have only recovered the power of the primordial heavenly dragon talisman as a peerless saint artifact. However, it is still a long way from my peak state. Aowu sent a voice transmission. Oh, what's going on? Then how can you completely reach your peak state? Xiaoping asked. I have a total of 3,000 primordial heavenly dragon talismans on me, which is equivalent to 3,000 primordial heavenly dragons. Every talisman contains the complete laws of the universe and forms a world of its own. Aowu said in a deep voice. If you want each primordial heavenly dragon talisman to unleash its strongest power, you need to devour 3,000 minor kiliocosms and obtain the energy of these minor kiliocosms. That way, each primordial heavenly dragon talisman would be equivalent to obtaining the energy of a world. Only then would it be able to multiply endlessly in battle. It would be like the awakening of many primordial heavenly dragons, sweeping through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. I see. Xiaoping could not help but nod when he heard that. He finally understood why the primordial heavenly dragon talisman's power was still ranked in the top 3 among the many Peerless Saint artifacts. It was far above the other Peerless Saint artifacts. It was because this Peerless Saint artifact allowed each primordial heavenly dragon talisman to unleash earth-shattering power and ferocious might by devouring the world's energy. That way, with 3,000 primordial heavenly dragon talismans appearing at the same time, it would not be a problem for them to sweep through the universe. Even back in the primordial era, Titania had only used the primordial heavenly dragon talismans to devour the energy of hundreds of minor kiliocosms before she was discovered by the other invincible saints. It was precisely because of this behavior that the other invincible saints were wary of her. If Titania really devoured the 3,000 worlds, it would be disastrous. Who in the entire universe would be her match? Therefore, because of this, the invincible saints of the other races could not sit back and do nothing. They immediately joined forces to kill Titania, completely destroying the primordial heavenly dragon talismans. If not for the fact that they could not destroy the primordial heavenly dragon talismans, the invincible saints would have long destroyed this Dharma treasure. They would not allow such a Dharma treasure to continue existing in the universe and destroy the universe's balance. Chapter 2448. Boom! At that moment, an immense amount of dragon race origin energy was immediately transmitted from the depths of the primordial heavenly dragon talisman. It was as if he had been enlightened and infused into Xia Ping's body. It was as if dragon meridians had transformed into energy dragons that swam into his body and easily integrated into his Dantian sea of energy. What's going on? Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He could feel the dermic powers in his body increasing rapidly. It was as if he had consumed a divine medicine. The effects were outstanding. He felt that his body was simply too comfortable and warm. It was as if he was soaking in a hot spring. All the fatigue and injuries in his body disappeared at that moment. Even his soul seemed to be nourished by this golden energy and was constantly improving. Master, this is a gift from the primordial heavenly dragon talisman itself. Every time the primordial heavenly dragon talisman advances, it will return a portion of its origin energy to help you increase your cultivation level. Aowu explained. He said that after the primordial heavenly dragon talisman devoured a large amount of the dragon race's origin energy, it would also return the purified origin energy to the primordial heavenly dragon talisman's owner to help him increase his cultivation level. Even after the primordial heavenly dragon talisman devoured the world's origin energy, a portion of the world's origin energy would also be transferred to its owner to help him increase his cultivation level. It was also because of this that Titania's cultivation level had increased by leaps and bounds. She had advanced faster than all the other sages, as if she did not need much accumulation at all. Many sages said that the primordial heavenly dragon talisman was actually a demonic artifact. It was not without reason. It devoured the energy of the infinite worlds to make up for itself and its owner's rapid evolution. Benefiting oneself at the expense of others was indeed the standard of a demonic artifact. Whoosh! Before Xia Ping could think further, this immense energy immediately surged into his limbs and bones, entering every meridian in his body, and finally into his 9 purple mansion spaces. He immediately sensed that his dermic powers and cultivation level had increased by leaps and bounds. Furthermore, there were no side effects. This was all the dragon race's origin energy, and did not have any impurities. At the same time, this dragon race's origin energy seemed to contain traces of the ancestral dragon's power. It was in no way inferior to the Golden Crow's bloodline. An extremely hot energy fused into every cell in his body. He immediately felt his body heat up, as if his body had turned into a furnace. Moreover, under such stimulation, the Golden Crow cells in his body were also awakening crazily. The massive Golden Crow of Hell energy was also released, and the speed and efficiency of his power exertion increased. His body had been transformed by the Golden Crow of Hell and the power of the ancestral dragon, and it was constantly being tempered and strengthened. I'm about to break through? After an unknown period of time, Xia Ping suddenly opened his eyes, shooting out 2 frightening beams of cold light that pierced through the void. He felt that his current cultivation base had reached its limit, and he had already touched the door of a bottleneck. Dong! Countless streams of magic power turned into a sea and violently smashed into the bronze door. It was like water flowing when the conditions were right. With a light hit, the bronze door immediately shattered. Late near ancient realm. In the space of a single breath of time, Xia Ping knew that he had broken through a minor bottleneck. He was now in the late near ancient realm, and his 9 violet palaces had doubled in size. Now, the 9 violet palaces could contain even more magic power, as if they had turned into a boundless ocean. Even his body had devoured a large amount of space laws. Countless fragments of space laws had gathered together, as if they were about to form a complete crystal. When the space crystal completely reached a perfect state, then he would be able to comprehend the time laws and improve further. Even at this moment, he could vaguely feel the existence of the time laws. It was as if when his thinking speed had reached the speed of light, the flow of time around him had changed, as if it had become incomparably slow. He felt that as long as his cultivation base was enough, he would not be far from the Middle Ancient Realm. Strength, soul, magic power, they are all stronger. Xia Ping clenched his fists, his face full of joy. He felt that he was at least 50% stronger than before. After reaching the late near ancient realm, his magic power had increased a lot, and it had expanded by several times. At the same time, the most important thing was that his soul power had become stronger. If his divine sense could only cover 700 light years before, then it could cover 1,000 light years now. Now the power of his illusions had more than doubled. Perhaps even the saints at the peak of the Middle Ancient Realm would not be able to resist his Zhuangzhou dream butterfly. Also, he had awakened 20 billion golden crow cells in his body, which meant that he had awakened 70 billion golden crow cells, which made his bloodline incredibly dense. This made every single golden crow cell in his body seem to have turned into a furnace, releasing an eternally scorching light. But my body seems to be very hot. At this time, Xia Ping also realized that after he had obtained a trace of the ancestral dragon's source power, he seemed to have been corroded by the ancestral dragon's bloodline and was greatly affected. This caused his body to become like a furnace, where every single cell was burning. The ancestral dragon's power was even trying to seep into his soul, changing him into the ancestral dragon's soul. However, this power was too weak, and was immediately devoured by the golden crow's power. This will and energy was completely taken over by the golden crow's power, strengthening its own soul power. Xia Ping. At this time, Yi Mingyao's figure flashed, and she entered the space of the Pearl of Mountain and River. She wanted to report on the financial report of the martial arts course. The sales figures for the past few days had also exploded, and the number of dragon crystals was simply shocking. Oh, you broke through? As soon as she entered, Yi Mingyao could feel that Xia Ping's aura was completely different from before. It seemed that his cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds, and his body was like a furnace burning, emitting a shocking aura of pure yang and the law of space. She immediately knew that Xia Ping had definitely broken through in his cultivation. However, how long had it been? And he had actually broken through again. If other saints knew about Xia Ping's cultivation speed, they would definitely be green with envy. Yi Mingyao. As soon as Yi Mingyao appeared, the ancestral dragon's energy in Xia Ping's body seemed to be a little out of control. It was affected by this pure yin power, and it suddenly made his power go berserk. Moreover, he and Yi Mingyao had already dual cultivated before, and there were remnants of his source power in her body. Now that she was being drawn in like this, how could she still be able to control it? Ah, beast, what are you trying to do? Yi Mingyao cried out in embarrassment and anger. However, before she could struggle, Xia Ping had already pushed her to the ground. With a crash, the sound of clothes being torn could be heard, and then an earth-shattering battle ensued. Chapter 2449. One night passed. Xia Ping and Yi Mingyao cultivated for an entire night. Both of them were saint-level experts. When they cultivated, they reached the realm of yin and yang merging, heaven and earth merging. As a result, Both of their cultivations advanced by leaps and bounds. Especially Yi Mengyao. After receiving the infusion of Xia Ping's origin energy, her body and soul had undergone earth-shattering changes, as if she had been reborn. She felt that her cultivation had reached the peak of a mortal realm. She was just one step away from reaching the near-ancient realm. Then, she could completely comprehend the space principle and create the space domain. Xia Ping also received great benefits. After receiving Yi Mingyao's pure yin energy, he completely stabilized the wild bloodline energy and ancestral dragon energy in his body. Even his soul power had improved greatly during the dual cultivation. He got a bit of pure yin energy and reached the realm of yin and yang merging, one withering and one thriving. Vaguely, during the process of dual cultivation, when their souls fused and sublimated, he even got a glimpse of the time principle. This was great for him to comprehend the time principle. At the same time, he immediately controlled his late ancient realm cultivation, solidified his foundation, and increased his dharma power. He was getting closer and closer to the peak of near-ancient realm. Bastard! Yi Mengyao was both embarrassed and angry. She glared at Xia Ping. She didn't think that this bastard would force himself on her again. She had thought that she would never see this man again. But now, she was being taken again. She felt that this was an ill-fated relationship that she couldn't escape from. She felt tired and didn't want to run anymore. You're not pregnant this time, are you? Xia Ping rubbed his chin. He felt that his life force was extremely strong, almost at its peak. It was easy for other women to get pregnant and give birth to a few little Xia Pings. What? So what if I'm pregnant? Don't tell me you don't want to be responsible? Yi Mingyao's beautiful eyes looked at Xia Ping dangerously. It seemed that if this man said anything wrong, she would make this bastard a eunuch. Of course not. Xia Ping pointed at the sky and swore that he was a responsible man. Hee, that's good. Yi Mengyao glared at him, then said, I almost forgot to tell you something. In the past few days, we've held another operation to buy courses. And in the end, we've earned tens of billions of dragon crystals. If this continues, I'm afraid we'll earn hundreds of billions of dragon crystals. If they find out that this is a scam, I'm afraid we'll be finished. To be honest, she was still a little worried that the scam would be exposed. The amount was too large, and the scope of the scam was so wide that it made one's hair stand on end. Once they were exposed, they would immediately become the target of public criticism and be hunted down by everyone. At that time, they wouldn't be able to escape. Although he was earning a lot of dragon crystals now, it would be useless if the dragon god shrine really targeted him. After all, if he couldn't even protect his own life, what was the use of the dragon crystal? Don't worry, I've already achieved my objective in coming to the dragon realm. If I want to leave, I can leave immediately. Xia Ping smiled. The primordial heavenly dragon talisman, which had devoured 100 billion dragon crystals, was so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. Even if it hadn't reached its peak, it already possessed the true power of a peerless sacred artifact. Once he activated it, it could immediately bring him into the spatial rift of the dragon realm, and easily leave the dragon realm. Even an invincible sage wouldn't be able to track him. It was precisely because he had such confidence that he could escape at any time, that he wasn't afraid of anything, and could do as he pleased. I see. You actually have a peerless sacred artifact, like the primordial heavenly dragon talisman on you. No wonder you could easily sneak into the dragon realm, and even escape at any time. This is the intrinsic dharma treasure of the famous super-wanted criminal in the universe. I didn't expect you to obtain it. Yi Mengyao was enlightened. She was still wondering what method Xia Ping had used to hide from the dragon god shrine of the dragon realm, and not be discovered by the other sacred dragons. So it was the power of the peerless sacred artifact, the primordial heavenly dragon talisman. However, it had to be said that the primordial heavenly dragon talisman was indeed rather powerful and mysterious. Moreover, the power contained within a peerless sacred artifact was not something that ordinary power could compare with. Even her race, the elves, could be considered a relatively powerful vassal race in the human world, but they only had one peerless sacred artifact. However, This peerless sacred artifact had suppressed the luck of the elves for countless years, allowing the elves to stand tall and firm. If that's the case, then I don't need to worry about anything. I can do things freely. Yi Mengyao's beautiful eyes revealed a glimmer of light. It's too wasteful to just have these dragon crystals. We can use them to buy all kinds of treasures in the dragon realm, treasures that can't be found in the outside world. Otherwise, it would be a waste of this great opportunity to enter the dragon realm. She wanted to use these dragon crystals to buy all kinds of cultivation resources. Even if she couldn't use it herself, if she sold it to the outside world, its value would probably increase by several times. They would also be able to earn a lot of money. No matter what, it wouldn't be a loss. All right, I'll leave it to you. Xiaoping nodded. Compared to him, Yi Mengyao was more familiar with this kind of thing. She was also familiar with all kinds of rare treasures in the dragon realm. Moreover, there wasn't much use for him to take so many dragon crystals with him. He could only take these dragon crystals out and exchange them for all kinds of dragon realm treasures. Of course, the most important thing was that he had too much money on him, so much that he had nowhere to spend it. All right. Yi Mengyao was very satisfied. She felt that she could buy too many treasures suitable for cultivation this time. The dragon realm was simply a paradise for cultivators. Even if it was just a stone or a leaf, if it was placed in the outside world, it would be a treasure that had eroded the origin power of the dragon realm. But this is just a small matter. I think our dual cultivation is a big matter. This seems to be greatly beneficial to our cultivation. It's better than any cultivation treasure. Xiaoping pounced forward. Puff, get lost, damn rogue. Yi Mengyao's pretty face turned red. She wished she could bite this bad guy, but she couldn't struggle. A few days later, Xiaoping ended his happy life with Yi Mengyao. Yi Mengyao went to learn about all kinds of treasures in the dragon realm. Before the scam was exposed, she planned to take the opportunity to buy a large number of dragon realm treasures. Adult dragon. While Xiaoping was resting in the manor, Fate Dragon Betty suddenly ran over. She looked at Xiaoping with a serious face. I can feel that a great opportunity is about to be born near White Dragon City. The blessing of fate has come. We shouldn't miss this great opportunity. Chapter 2450. Boom. Just then, all of the dragons in White Dragon City sensed a sudden burst of light from hundreds of millions of kilometers away. The light pierced through the void and caused the void within hundreds of millions of kilometers to tremble. Vaguely, a dragon that spanned hundreds of thousands of light years loomed in the air, emanating an unparalleled might that made every dragon feel a fatal pressure. They simply couldn't resist it at all. Half a day later, an earth-shattering piece of news spread. The only abode left behind by the invisible dragon Theodore, who had reached the invincible realm in the primeval age, had opened. The news shocked the entire dragon realm. White Dragon City, which was the closest to the abode, was in an uproar. The abode of the invisible dragon Theodore is opening. We're rich. We're rich. Some dragons trembled with excitement when they heard the news, unable to contain themselves. Why is it rich? What's the background of the invisible dragon Theodore? Why is his abode so attractive? Some dragons didn't know who Theodore was. It's normal that you don't know about Theodore. The invisible dragon Theodore ran amok in the primeval age. At that time, he had reached the invincible realm and was one of the strongest dragons in the dragon realm. A dragon said solemnly. Usually, such a giant dragon can live until the end of time, until the end of the universe. Unfortunately, in the primordial era, the demons from the abyss invaded the universe and invaded the dragon world. Countless giant dragons rushed forward without a care for their own safety, as the invincible dragon Theodore naturally stood on the front line against the demons from the abyss. Unfortunately, the battle was so fierce that even the invincible dragon Theodore couldn't withstand it, and his soul suffered irrecoverable injuries. In the end, the heavily injured Theodore returned to the dragon realm and found a random place to sleep. Until now, no dragon knows where Theodore is sleeping. It's said that if it was an ordinary dragon, it would be very easy for an ordinary dragon to find its hibernation lair. But Theodore, the invisible dragon, was completely different. His cave residence seemed to be an independent dimensional world, hidden in the deepest part of the dragon realm. Even a giant dragon in the invincible realm could not find Theodore's cave residence. It was as if Theodore's comprehension of the law of space had reached an unprecedented level, and there were few beings who understood the law of space better than Theodore. In other words, the relic phenomenon that suddenly appeared this time is the last place Theodore appeared, and the cave abode he used to live in. Some dragons came to a sudden realization. You could say that, a dragon said in a deep voice. But that's not the only reason why Theodore's cave residence is so eye-catching. Theodore may be an invincible dragon, but in fact, before he reached the invincible realm, he was already a famous thieving dragon in the dragon realm. He stole the treasures of countless dragons, caused countless wars, and countless dragons wanted to kill him. Theodore, on the other hand, relied on his innate spatial form to be invisible and able to slip into the void at any time. Many of the dragon lair's restrictions and formations were practically non-existent to him. It was not hard to imagine how many dragons' nests had been invaded by the formless dragon Theodore, and all the treasures inside had been stolen, leaving nothing behind. Even after it was promoted to the invincible realm, it didn't know how many times it attacked. But that was because its vision had become higher, and not many treasures could catch its eye. Because of that, the invisible dragon Theodore's cave residence must contain treasures it had collected for countless years. It could be called a super treasure vault. Think about it. Anyone who could get their hands on Theodore's treasure vault would instantly become one of the richest people in the dragon realm. Even the invincible dragon might not be able to compare to you. What? Every giant dragon was wild with joy when they heard the news. Theodore's treasure vault was something that countless dragons coveted. It was a true treasure vault, and the word priceless wasn't enough to describe how precious it was. These were treasures that Theodore the Formless Dragon had accumulated over countless years. One could only imagine how many treasures were hidden within, and they did not even dare to think about it. If that's the case, wouldn't the appearance of Theodore's treasury shake the entire dragon realm? Even the invincible dragon himself would make a move. If that's the case, how are we supposed to get a share? Some of the dragons gulped. There's no need to worry about that. Some dragons have already investigated, and it seems that the great ancient dragons, and even the dragons above them, are unable to enter Theodore's lair. One of the dragons said in a deep voice, "This seems to be the handiwork of the invisible dragon Theodore. He has set up powerful restrictive formations everywhere. If an enemy were to touch the outer restrictive formations, this cave would once again flee into the depths of the void, only appearing again after 1,000,000,000,000 years. Therefore, even the colossal dragons above the immemorial ancient realm would not dare to make a move recklessly, afraid that they would cause this cave to disappear once more. That's why Theodore's cave abode is open to all dragons below the middle immemorial dragon level, and they might be able to obtain many precious treasures." It explains some specific information about the cave abode's restrictions. As long as the invincible dragon doesn't make a move, we still have some hope. Bullshit. Even dragons below the divine dragon level have no hope. Wouldn't those ordinary dragons just be cannon fodder if they went in? That's not necessarily true. If those ordinary dragons are lucky, they might be able to obtain some treasures. That's true. Even if we can't obtain the most precious treasures in Theodore's cave abode, we'll still be able to make a huge profit if we get some of the side items. It's a trade without any cost. That's right. Actually, we don't have to be too greedy. With so many dragons watching us, it's impossible to get everything, but we can still get some treasures. Also, Theodore's cave abode is very close to White Dragon City. That's a natural advantage for us. That's right. The other cities are extremely far away from White Dragon City. Even if we wait for them to arrive, it'll take them at least half a month. Haha, we've already looted the entire cave abode. There's no way we'll give the dragons of other cities a chance. That's right. This is a great opportunity for White Dragon City. We can't miss it. Many dragons were excited and overjoyed. They all felt that this was a great opportunity. After all, this was a precious treasure left behind by an invincible dragon. It was equivalent to an invincible dragon's entire life savings. Not to mention that this dragon was the famous invisible dragon that had stolen countless things in its life. The amount of treasures it contained was even more shocking. It was enough to leave countless dragons speechless and tempted. The holy dragons had long been impatient and set off for Theodore's cave abode. After Xiaoping learned of this news, he naturally would not let go of this opportunity. Chapter 2451. The Greenland mountain range was the largest mountain range away from White Dragon City. The mountains were extremely majestic, stretching as far as the eye could see. They were verdant and full of vitality. Theodore's cave abode was located in a corner of the Greenland mountain range, occupying the 100,000 mountains. At this moment, a huge transparent restrictive formation enveloped the mountain range, distorting the void. The Dragon Clan's restrictive formations were dense and unfathomable, as if they were formed by the laws of the universe. Billions of laws of the universe sealed off the void vaguely. No power could get close to this place, as if even the laws of space and time had lost their effect here. Whoosh! Whoosh! After countless giant dragons got the news, they quickly rushed over from all directions. They all looked at the mysterious and powerful cave that suddenly appeared in awe. They knew that this must be Theodore's last cave abode. There were countless treasures hidden inside, and any one of them could benefit them for the rest of their lives. At this moment, Xiaoping, Betty, and Kalita all appeared here. As for Yi Mingyao and the other young dragons, they were in White Dragon City. It was not suitable for them to participate in this cave abode adventure. As for why Betty and Kalita were brought back, it was because their abilities would be of great help to the adventure. First was Betty. Her power of fate was strange and unpredictable. She could predict the future and turn misfortunes into blessings. Such an ability was so mysterious that even holy dragons would fall into her trap if they were not careful. Next was Kalita. She was born invisible and colorless, and she could blend into the void. She was a natural child of space, and she had the same special ability as Theodore. If Kalita entered, she might be able to find some clues. Moreover, she was very good at hiding. If she used all her strength, even holy dragons would not be able to detect her. Therefore, her life-saving ability was very powerful, and there was no need to worry about her own safety. As soon as Xiaoping appeared, he immediately became the focus of all the dragons present. Look, isn't that the martial dragon master who has been in the limelight recently? Some dragons noticed Xiaoping's arrival because he had become too famous recently. First of all, he was the champion of the martial arts competition, which made countless dragons familiar with him. His martial arts classes had also attracted countless thunder dragons to sign up, shocking the dragon world. Many holy dragons had also heard of martial dragon master's name. Yes, it's indeed that kid. Recently, he's been doing that martial arts course that can make Thunder Tribulation ascend to immortal. It seems to be very popular. I don't know if it's true or not, but he's earned a lot from it. It's not just a lot of money. I heard that the registration fee for a dragon alone is 100,000 dragon crystals. Who knows how many Thunder Tribulation dragons have signed up with him recently? He's made at least 1 billion dragon crystals. My God, billions of dragon crystals? What kind of joke is this? I'm a dignified middle primordial dragon who has comprehended the law of time. I don't even know how many years it would take me to earn so many dragon crystals. This kid has earned so many in just a few months. He's amazing. He's the champion of the martial arts competition. That's a great title. Some dragons say that he's probably the richest man in White Dragon City. Not many dragons can compare to him. Haha, it seems that his cultivation is not very high. At most, he is in the late Near Ancient era. Can he keep so much money? That's true. Even if you can really earn so much money, it's not a good thing if you can't keep it. Sometimes, if you don't have the ability, but you have a huge amount of money, that's a disaster. The giant dragons discussed among themselves. This was especially so for some dragons. Their eyes were filled with greed and cruelty. If they had the chance, they wouldn't mind robbing this brat. As a matter of fact, most dragons were extremely evil. They were selfish and cruel, worshipped strength, were good at robbing, and loved treasures. They did not have the so-called morality of the human world at all. If they saw other dragons with large amounts of magic treasures, but not much power, they wouldn't mind robbing them. Still, this kid is quite arrogant. He clearly knows that this is an adventure into the invisible dragon Theodore's cave abode, and it's fraught with danger, but he still brought 2 young dragons with him. Does he think this is an outing? You're looking down on the other dragons too much. A dragon sneered. Who knows? He's the champion of the martial arts competition. It's only natural for him to look down on the other dragons. He's the champion dragon, so his strength must be extraordinary. How can we compare? That's true. It doesn't matter if he dies, but he'll drag the 2 young dragons down with him. Why are you worried about the champion dragon? Worry about yourself. He naturally has his own confidence. Some dragons were mocking him. They were all dragons who had lost to Xia Ping in the duel. That duel had made them lose all face, and they were mocked by countless dragons. Now that they had found an opportunity, how could they not add insult to injury and mock him? These bastard dragons, Destiny Dragon Betty and Invisible Dragon Kalita, widened their eyes and glared at these adult dragons. These dragons were all the kind of dogs that could not grow ivory, and their mouths were very stinky. Shut up, it's none of your business. Xia Ping gave them a sidelong glance. What does it have to do with you whether I bring the young dragons in or not? If you don't have the ability, don't talk nonsense here. If you have the ability, bring them too. If you don't like it, come and bite me. You. Hearing this, the surrounding dragons were furious. They didn't expect this kid's mouth to be so poisonous. You're all a bunch of useless dragons. Look at you. This is all you can achieve in this lifetime. I guess you entered this ruin to find a breakthrough opportunity. Be careful not to die inside before you get the treasure. Then, your female dragon will belong to someone else and climb into the bed of another male dragon. If you really can't do it, you can also make a will, and I can help you take care of it. Xia Ping said indifferently. Damn it, I'm going to kill him. Damn, this mouth is too cheap. I'm going to tear his mouth apart. The surrounding dragons were so angry that smoke was coming out of their 7 orifices. They had never been so angry in their lives. This bastard's words were sharp, and they wanted to cut this bastard into pieces. The 2 young dragons, Destiny Dragon Betty and Invisible Dragon Kalita, were dumbfounded. They didn't expect this adult dragon's mouth to be so poisonous, the kind that scolded people without using vulgarities. Boom! But before they could make a move, all of a sudden, the entire cave house trembled and buzzed. It emitted a brilliant golden light, and the space was distorted. A huge door of light appeared in front of the dragons. The cave house is open, going quickly. One of the dragons cried out. Hearing this, countless dragons were stirred. They couldn't care about anything else, and quickly passed through the door of light. They were afraid that if they were a step late, the treasures inside would be snatched away by other dragons. Chapter 2452. When Xia Ping saw this, he naturally wouldn't fall behind. His figure flickered as he brought the fate dragon Betty and the invisible dragon Kalita into the ruins. Boom! In the next second, he felt space-time distort as soon as he entered the door. As if his body was out of his control, he was immediately teleported to the deepest part of the ruins. The other dragons felt the same. It was as if the door was just a teleportation formation, and any dragon that entered would be randomly teleported to every corner of the ruins. However, Xia Ping circulated his magic power and bound the fate dragon Betty and the formless dragon Kalita so that they wouldn't leave his side. Even the space-time restraints couldn't affect them. Whoosh! Soon, Xia Ping felt that he was teleported to a solid piece of land. The 2 young dragons, Betty and formless dragon Kalita, did not leave his side either. This place really is vast and boundless. He stood on the ground, his consciousness soundlessly spreading in all directions, covering a radius of 1,000 light years. Even so, he still couldn't reach the end of the ruins. It was as if the space-time of the formless dragon Theodore's abode was distorted everywhere. It was as if thousands of small worlds were stacked on top of each other. The area inside was simply boundless, even vaster than the average star region. This was probably a space-time abode forged by the formless dragon Theodore, using his innate ability. There were powerful restrictive formations everywhere inside. If it was fully activated, even a saint who had reached the invincible realm would be severely injured. However, the formless dragon Theodore had long fallen, and no dragon could activate the restrictive formations of the abode. Adult dragon, go there. There seems to be treasures there. The fate dragon Betty raised her head. Dense lines of fate appeared in the depths of her eyes, flashing with many images. As if sensing something, she pointed to a location in the northeast. Whoosh! Hearing this, Xiaoping immediately knew that Betty must have sensed the existence of some treasure nearby. His figure flashed, leaping through space-time, and arriving at the location Betty pointed to. It was a forest with dense trees everywhere. On the surface, there didn't seem to be anything special. However, he activated the Golden Crow's eyes of hell to see through the void and into the dimensional space-time. He immediately saw that the forest was an illusory formation used to deceive the consciousness of living beings. Only a unique eye like the infernal Golden Crow's eye could see through the illusion and see the truth behind this invisible restriction. There are indeed treasures in this place. Xiaoping's eyes opened wide as he noticed that there seemed to be a crimson-colored weed growing in the deepest depths of this formation. Its appearance was bright like blood, and it was shaped like a divine dragon. It was 3 meters tall, and it emitted a scorching divine, mighty, ancient, and various other auras. Even through the restrictive formation, he could sense that this spirit herb was unfathomable and contained powerful medicinal energy. Heavens! Master, quickly break this restrictive formation. This is the scarlet blood divine dragon grass. Seeing flowing time, the Azure Ox couldn't help but exclaim, "This is one of the most precious spiritual herbs in the dragon realm. It's said that it contains a trace of the ancestral dragon's bloodline, and its medicinal power is extremely potent. If an ordinary giant dragon were to consume it, it would immediately improve their bloodline, and they might even become a divine dragon. This is a top-notch medicine that all giant dragons yearn for. Even sage-level dragons would go crazy for it. Even creatures of other races can obtain a trace of the ancestral dragon's bloodline if they consume it. It will greatly improve their bloodline aptitude, and they will also have an extremely high affinity with the laws of the universe." Scarlet blood divine dragon grass. Fate dragon Betty and formless dragon Kalita also widened their eyes and held their breaths. They immediately recognized that this was the famous dragon realm's sacred medicine, and it was enough to make countless dragons go crazy. Just a single sacred medicine like this would probably be worth tens of billions of dragon crystals if it was auctioned in the outside world. Countless divine dragons would be willing to sell their entire family fortune to buy it. Unfortunately, such a treasure couldn't be bought even if one had money. This was a rare plant in the universe, the kind that was about to go extinct. We're rich, we're rich. We're really rich this time. As expected of the invincible dragon's cave abode. We've just entered, and we're already going to obtain such a peerless treasure. If we go deeper, we'll be in trouble. The dragon realm is indeed a world blessed by the heavens. The Azure Ox's voice was trembling. Crack. Xiaoping used the infernal Golden Crow's eyes. These restrictive array formations were practically non-existent to him. He knew all the nodes and weaknesses of these restrictive array formations. As long as he could break these nodes, these restrictive array formations would naturally be broken. He lightly tapped the void, and streams of magic power containing spatial power bombarded the nodes of these restrictive formations. The void distorted and bombarded the nodes of these restrictive formations. Dong. The space within a radius of several kilometers trembled slightly, and all the restrictive formations collapsed as a result. The sacred medicine, scarlet blood divine dragon grass, was also revealed. Just as Xiaoping was about to make a move and pluck the spirit herb back, it seemed to cause the entire ruin to tremble. It was as if a certain program had been activated. Buzz buzz. Suddenly, a huge invisible dragon appeared in front of all the dragons that entered the ruins. Its body emitted an unparalleled aura, as if all the laws of the universe were circulating on its body. It was unfathomable. This was the formless dragon Theodore. However, this wasn't his real body but a projection. Haha. I didn't think that there would be dragons that found the precious sacred medicine I left in the cave so quickly. Scarlet blood divine dragon grass. Looks like this generation of dragons is quite powerful. The formless dragon Theodore laughed heartily. But don't worry, I've been dead for who knows how many eras. All I've left is a projection. Even if I'm dead, the treasures I've painstakingly gathered won't be obtained so easily by you young dragons. If you want to obtain all of my treasures, you'll have to fight. Only the strongest dragon can inherit all of my treasures. Weak dragons can't survive in this universe. Therefore, any dragon who obtains the treasures left behind by me in the ruins will have your silhouette and identity exposed in front of all the other dragons. Everything you do will be revealed to all the other dragons. It doesn't matter if you've obtained my treasures because you're strong or lucky. If you want to protect these treasures, you'll still die if you're not strong enough. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the image of Xia Ping, the dragon of destiny Betty, and the formless dragon Kalita breaking the restrictive formations and obtaining the scarlet blood divine dragon grass was exposed to all dragons. The image played for a full hour before disappearing, and Xia Ping's appearance was clearly exposed. Everyone knew that he had obtained a sacred medicine, scarlet blood divine dragon grass. Chapter 2453. As soon as this image appeared, it alarmed all the dragons that had entered the ruins. Every single dragon's eyes turned red, and they were all driven mad by this matter. My God, this is our dragon realm's rare sacred herb, crimson blood dragon divine herb. An immortal dragon couldn't help but exclaim. Rumor has it that this sacred herb contains a trace of pure ancestral dragon bloodline. This kind of bloodline is even more noble than most dragons in the dragon realm. If you consume it, it doesn't matter if you're a pseudo-dragon, a giant dragon, a special dragon, or any other living creature. You'll immediately possess a trace of ancestral dragon bloodline. This is a peerless sacred herb that's rarely seen throughout the ages. Many dragons trembled at the sight of this, and their bodies were shaking. To be honest, the thing that troubled all dragons in the dragon realm was their own bloodline. The richer the ancestral dragon bloodline, the more talented they would be, and the faster they would break through. However, if the bloodline was thin, they would be trash, and they would never be able to break through to the highest realm in their lifetime. Hence, pseudo-dragons were the lowest creatures in the dragon realm. But now it was different. If anyone could obtain this crimson blood dragon divine herb, no matter what kind of dragon they were before, even if they were a pseudo-dragon, they would have a chance to become a sacred dragon after consuming it. Obtaining this sacred herb wasn't just like being reborn. Even reaching the heavens in a single step wasn't enough to describe such a change and fortuitous encounter. It was like a beggar on the street suddenly becoming a crown prince of a kingdom. Crimson blood dragon divine herb. I have to get this crimson blood dragon divine herb. I've been trapped in the near ancient realm for who knows how many tens of thousands of years because of the restriction of my bloodline. If I can consume this crimson blood dragon divine herb and improve my dragon bloodline, I won't just become a middle ancient dragon. I'll even have a chance to become a primordial dragon or an invincible dragon. A near ancient dragon couldn't help but tremble. Its eyes were bloodshot, and it wanted nothing more than to take the crimson blood dragon divine herb for itself. Who is that dragon? Why is he so lucky? He just entered the ruins, and he found the crimson blood dragon divine grass. Some dragons wanted to find out the identity of the dragon that obtained the crimson blood dragon divine grass. I know him. This brat is the ancient dragon martial tycoon that has caused an uproar recently. I didn't expect his luck to be this good. He just entered the ruins, and he already obtained the crimson blood dragon divine grass. If he were to consume it, wouldn't that be heaven-defying? A dragon immediately recognized Xia Ping's identity. Fuck, he's just a near-ancient dragon. What right does he have to obtain a precious sacred medicine, like the crimson blood dragon divine herb? Such a sacred medicine should belong to a middle ancient dragon like me. Whoever dares to snatch it shall die. A middle-aged dragon's eyes turned red, and its killing intent surged. If it could obtain a sacred medicine like the scarlet blood dragon divine grass, it would be willing to kill its entire family. Now that Master Matato actually obtained this sacred medicine, isn't this courting death? With this kind of strength, what qualifications did they have to compete with them for the peerless scarlet blood dragon divine grass? Yes, find him, find Master Matato, kill him, and take the crimson blood dragon divine grass. Invisible Dragon Theodore is right. In this universe, the strong survive, and the weak die. Without strength, don't even think about keeping the treasure. This crimson blood dragon divine grass belongs to me. Find Master Matato immediately, and cut him into pieces. A treasure like the crimson blood dragon divine grass should not fall into his hands. Many dragons shouted loudly. In order to obtain the famous crimson blood dragon divine grass, they all went completely crazy. They wanted to know Xiaoping's whereabouts and kill him. And this news quickly spread to the outside world through the virtual network, quickly spreading to all parts of the dragon realm. This news also made many dragons go crazy. What? This is just the beginning. And there's already a dragon who obtained the crimson blood dragon divine grass. Is this a joke? This is a sacred medicine that can enhance the dragon race's bloodline. And it appeared so soon. Hurry! Hurry to White Dragon City, or the treasures inside the ruins will be taken by the other dragons. At all costs, immediately set up the spatial teleportation matrix. It doesn't matter how many resources are used. In short, we have to get to the ruins as soon as possible. That is the treasure of the invincible dragon Theodore. The treasures it contains are unimaginable. Even one step late will be a huge loss. In the outside world, countless dragons also went completely crazy. Especially those dragons who were farther away, at all costs, took out many spatial materials, set up a teleportation matrix, and tried to reach the ruins as quickly as possible. And the dragons who were closer to the ruins were even more desperate, madly rushing over. They were no longer leisurely, but with the attitude of desperation. They had never run so fast in their lives. At this moment, on the other hand, Xiaoping put away the crimson blood dragon divine grass. He also saw the virtual image in the sky, and now he was speechless. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he couldn't help but curse. He had originally wanted to get the herb and make a fortune in silence. Who would have thought that the invisible dragon Theodore would do something like this and announce it to the world? How could he hide himself now? Once the news spread, all the dragons in the ruins, and even those outside the ruins, would go crazy and hunt him down. After all, he had learned from the green ox just how beneficial the crimson blood dragon divine grass was to dragons. It was a great opportunity to change their lives, and they couldn't possibly give it up. But perhaps this was the invisible dragon Theodore's goal. It was possible to obtain the treasures it left behind, but he had to prove his strength first. Clearly, this was the invisible dragon Theodore's test. He wouldn't let other dragons take away his treasure so easily. Fortunately, the surface area of the ruins was also very large. It could be said to be boundless. Even if the surrounding dragons wanted to find him, it would not be that easy. Adult dragon, can you give me this stock of sacred medicine? Destiny dragon Betty and formless dragon Kalita blinked their beautiful eyes, looking like pugs as they fawned over him. Of course, that's not a problem. As long as you can resist the pursuit of those adult dragons later. Xiaoping smiled. Tui bad dragon. Hearing this, the faces of the fate dragon Betty and the invisible dragon Kalita darkened. If they really obtained the crimson blood dragon divine herb, with their strength, it would not take long for them to be torn apart by the greedy dragons. Those dragons wouldn't care if they were young dragons. Anyone who dared to steal the treasure was an enemy. Of course, if you help me find more treasures, I can give you the crimson blood dragon divine grass. Xiaoping's tone changed, giving them hope like a carrot dangling in front of a donkey. As long as he had the help of Destiny Dragon Betty and Formless Dragon Kalita, he would be able to plunder more treasures from the ruins. After all, he had already obtained the crimson blood dragon divine grass at the beginning. He couldn't imagine what other treasures he would find next. If he obtained enough treasures, it wouldn't be a problem to give them the crimson blood dragon divine grass. All right, leave it to us. Hearing this, Destiny Dragon Betty and Formless Dragon Kalita became excited and patted their chests, as if they'd been injected with chicken blood. Chapter 2454. But where are we going next? Xiaoping asked. Let me deduce a bit to see if there are any treasures in this ruin. Fate Dragon Betty volunteered. She decided to find more treasures and make a huge contribution. This way, she would have the opportunity to obtain the Scarlet Blood Divine Dragon Grass, which would be of great benefit to her growth. Be careful. I sensed a spatial fluctuation coming from other dragons in the distance. At this time, Invisible Dragon Kalita said. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and turned to look. His divine sense spread all around, sensing the void. Suddenly, more than a dozen ancient dragons flew over from the distance, each of them emitting a powerful spatial domain power. They approached from afar at an extremely fast speed. However, they didn't seem to know that Xiaoping was here, and just happened to pass by. But when these ancient dragons approached, they immediately saw Xiaoping and the others and couldn't help but stare blankly. Then, they seemed to have thought of something and revealed an ecstatic expression. Haha! Isn't this Master Mateto who obtained the Scarlet Blood Divine Dragon Grass? An ancient dragon was ecstatic, its eyes open wide. Yes, it's this kid. Even if he turned into ashes, I would still recognize him. The other silver dragon shouted. It was about to go crazy. When it saw Xiaoping, it was as if it had seen a great treasure. It was like a meat pie falling from the sky. Great, our luck is really too good. We only walked a few steps, and we actually met this Master Mateto. This Scarlet Blood Divine Dragon Grass should be ours to obtain. That's right, when luck comes, we can't stop it even if we want to. What kind of dogshit luck do we have? If we get that Scarlet Blood Divine Dragon Grass, then wouldn't we be rich? Yeah, even if we don't use it ourselves, we can auction it and earn tens of billions of dragon crystals. Getting rich overnight. This is a one-night explosion. We are completely rich. More than a dozen ancient dragons laughed and were ecstatic. They originally thought that they wouldn't have the chance to meet Master Mateto. After all, this ruin was really too big, and meeting Master Mateto was an extremely unlikely thing. Perhaps before they could find Master Mateto, he would have been killed by other dragons. But who would have thought that their luck was simply heaven-defying? They just walked a few steps and unexpectedly met Master Mateto. Brat, hand over the Scarlet Blood Divine Dragon Grass on you right now. This holy medicine is not something a dragon like you can obtain. Otherwise, you will die here today. Immediately, one of the silver dragons roared angrily, staring at Xiaoping with a murderous look. This silver dragon was not the only one. The other immemorial dragons also released their powerful auras and sealed off the void, not giving Xiaoping any chance to escape. They had made ample preparations to snatch the Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass from Xiaoping. Oh no! The Fate Dragon Betty and the Formless Dragon Kalita both shivered. As young dragons, they had never seen such a scene. They were actually surrounded by a dozen near-ancient dragons. There was no way they could survive. Not to mention that they were just young dragons. Even if they were adults, they might not be able to defeat these near-ancient dragons. After all, these near-ancient dragons were also the best among the dragons. Their bloodline was deep, and they would not necessarily lose to special dragons like them. If you want to snatch my Crimson Blood Divine Dragon Grass, then let's see if you have the ability. If you don't have the ability, then get lost. Otherwise, if you die here, it will be useless even if you call your parents. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes were very indifferent. He simply did not put these near-ancient dragons in his eyes. Master Mateto, don't be too insolent. That's right. Even if you are the champion of this martial arts competition, so what? We have more than a dozen near-ancient dragons here. Are you really our opponent? This brat won't shed tears until he sees the coffin. Let's destroy his prestige first. If we don't beat him until he cries for his parents, he won't know what death is. There is no need to talk nonsense with him. More than a dozen near-ancient dragons roared angrily, and they immediately attacked. Rumble! In an instant, these near-ancient dragons immediately displayed the space domain. There was the boundless ocean domain. which seemed to turn into a boundless ocean world. Every drop of water weighed as much as 1,000 pounds, and it was enough to crush a small world. There was the flame domain, which seemed to turn into a boundless sea of fire, communicating with the dimension of fire. Moreover, it was not an ordinary flame, but the famous dragon flame of the dragon clan. There was the cold ice domain, which seemed to turn into a world of ice and snow at this moment. The temperature reached absolute zero, and it seemed to completely freeze this space. More than a dozen space domains, like the projection of more than a dozen space worlds, constantly superimposed, and it seemed to completely suppress this void, leaving no place to escape. Even an ordinary Middle Ancient dragon had to be cautious in the face of such power. Bell of Chaos. How could Xiaoping talk nonsense with this group of near-ancient dragons? If he continued to fight, he might attract other dragons. Therefore, he attacked with a killing move, not giving these near-ancient dragons any chance to resist. Suddenly, an ancient giant bell filled with chaotic airflow appeared above his head, emitting a strong chaotic airflow. It seemed to be filled with a powerful chaotic domain, distorting time and space. It gently swayed above Xiaoping's head, and it constantly shook. Supreme magical ability, soul disorientation. Clang, clang, clang. Immediately, waves of special sound waves were emitted from the Bell of Chaos. With the Bell of Chaos as the center, the space within a radius of billions of miles was surrounded by this mysterious and unique sound wave. This seemed to be an ancient sound from the chaotic era, like the whisper of an ancient god, like the thunder at the beginning of the chaos, or like the howl of a demon god in the depths of hell. It could be said that these waves were supreme soul waves. Not to mention the space domain, even the space-time domain could not resist the erosion of the powerful soul waves of the soul disorientation. Vaguely, these waves seemed to contain powerful nomological power and fluctuations. They permeated time and space, causing the nomological laws of the universe to resonate and buzz. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, the dozen or so near-ancient dragons did not expect such a thing to happen. It was as if their heads had been struck by lightning, as if someone had hit them hard, and they immediately saw stars. Even their souls and spirits seemed to have been scattered, and they temporarily lost consciousness. Even the dozen or so space domains were shattered because of this. The near-ancient dragons stood dumbfounded on the spot, not knowing what had happened. Six-path sealing technique. How could Xiaoping let go of such an opportunity? He grabbed with his hand, and immediately captured these dozen or so near-ancient dragons. Then, he used the six-path sealing technique to completely seal the power of these near-ancient dragons. Then, he captured these near-ancient dragons into the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers as coolies. They could probably only be slaves in the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers for the rest of their lives, without any chance of leaving. Chapter 2455. Cool too cool. Seeing this scene, the fate dragon Betty and the formless dragon Kalita looked at Xiaoping with admiration. Then, they looked at the Bell of Chaos above Xiaoping's head with envy. That was because the moment he used it, it could beat the insufferably arrogant dragons to the point where they couldn't even fight back. One could imagine how powerful it was. They were so envious that they drooled. As dragons, their nature to collect treasures was revealed. Invisible Dragon Kalita blinked her beautiful eyes and suggested, "Adult dragon, what kind of treasure is this? Can you give it to me? I don't want the crimson blood dragon divine grass anymore. Give me this treasure." She felt that if she had this treasure and her innate ability to hide in the void, then suddenly appear and smash the enemy with the bell of chaos, wouldn't she be able to win in minutes? In this world, which dragon could be a match for her? The great invisible dragon Kalita? At that time, she would be able to obtain any treasure she wanted, and she would be invincible. Don't even think about it. This is my life treasure, Xiaoping said in annoyance. He reached out and knocked invisible dragon Kalita's head. She still wanted her life treasure, the bell of chaos? Wasn't this nonsense? That was a good idea. Damn it. Invisible dragon Kalita was so angry that her teeth itched. She had never been knocked on the head like this in her life. As an invisible dragon, her concealment ability was unparalleled. If she wanted to hide, she could hide. If she wanted to escape, she could escape. No dragon could find her. However, she just had to meet her nemesis Xiaoping. He could always find her traces. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and find the next treasure. There are treasures everywhere. Don't let the other dragons take them. Xiaoping urged Fate Dragon Betty to hurry up and get to work. Hee squeezing young dragons. Shameless adult dragons. Fate Dragon Betty spat. However, she was also very interested in the various treasures in the ruins. If it was just her, even if she could find the specific location of the treasure, she didn't have the strength to take it away. Even if they really took it away, there was no way they could keep it. Only by relying on Xiaoping, the adult dragon, and their combination of swords could they be invincible in this relic. Right, let's head in this direction northeast. There should be some good treasures there. I have a strong feeling that they might be even better than the crimson blood dragon divine grass. Fate Dragon Betty closed her eyes, then suddenly opened them and shouted excitedly, "Is there such a thing? Then let's hurry over." Xiaoping immediately hugged the Fate Dragon Betty and the formless dragon Kalita and instantly left, heading in the direction that Betty had pointed. He trusted Betty's fate power. Perhaps this was similar to the Khanate Dharma treasure that he had obtained, the Compass of Wishes. After a day, under the guidance of the Dragon of Destiny, Betty, Xiaoping finally arrived at a remote valley. Because he had been very careful along the way, hiding his figure, no other dragons came to find trouble with him. That's right, this is the valley. There must be treasures in this place. The Fate Dragon Betty said confidently. Interesting. Then let me see what treasures there are here. Xiaoping found that there was nothing in this valley. It was probably the same as the Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass, which had long been covered by the restrictive formations here. He used the Hell Golden Crow's eye, and the whole world immediately changed. Void formations appeared in the surroundings, as though they were hidden in the depths of space-time. In the center of the valley, in the depths of the layers of restrictive formations, there was a transparent flower the size of a palm. It was covered with dense nomological lines, as though it had merged with the surrounding void, emitting an extremely mysterious aura. If one continued to look deeper, there seemed to be countless planets in the depths of the flower, as though it contained a universe. Countless stars were rotating on their own. Even in the depths of these planets, there were many birds and beasts, as well as mountains, rivers, deserts, mountains, seas, and other natural environments. Below the flower, there were emerald green leaves. These leaves were also very unusual, as though they contained a small plain world, emitting a chaotic aura. The more one looked at it, the more one found that the transparent flower contained endless mysteries. It was unfathomable, as though even one's soul would completely fall into the depths of this vortex. Oh my God, Master, this is the flower of enlightenment, a rare sacred medicine in the universe, the flower of enlightenment. We're rich, we're really rich this time. Seeing this scene, the green bull had completely gone crazy, unable to conceal the shock and ecstasy in the depths of his heart, as though he could not believe what his eyes were seeing. No way, this is the flower of enlightenment. Hearing this, Xiaoping could not help but tremble. The flower of enlightenment was known as one of the most precious sacred medicines in the universe. It was not cultivated, but a miraculous flower born in the universe. Only in the densest origin of the universe, coupled with the interweaving of countless cosmic laws, could such a wonderful cosmic flower be born. The flower of enlightenment. It was known as a peerless sacred medicine that gathered the essence of the universe and the laws of the heavenly Tao. Its flowers contained all the cosmic laws, and its leaves were like plain worlds, containing the 6 paths of reincarnation, endlessly multiplying. Its function was also very simple. It could help sages comprehend the Tao. As long as one consumed this flower, they would immediately comprehend all the complete laws of the universe, comprehend the information of the great Tao, and obtain endless benefits. If a near-ancient sage comprehended the Tao, he would be able to comprehend the laws of time and become a middle-ancient sage. If a middle-ancient sage comprehended the Tao, he would be able to comprehend the laws of creation and become an ancient sage. Even the flower of enlightenment had a great effect on ancient sages, primordial sages, and invincible sages. It was as though one had become the illegitimate child of the heavenly Tao and obtained the opportunity to comprehend the heavenly Tao, the laws of space-time, creation, world, and life and death that one normally could not comprehend, could be easily comprehended under the effect of the flower of enlightenment. There was once a primordial sage who was stuck at this bottleneck for countless eras, but after consuming a flower of enlightenment, he immediately became an invincible sage. One could imagine how precious the flower of enlightenment was. Once it appeared, it would cause a bloodbath in the entire universe. Back then, Old Master also wanted to find a flower of enlightenment in an attempt to break through to the primordial sage level. Unfortunately, this kind of cosmic flower is extremely rare and only appears once every billions of eras. The green ox's body was trembling. I didn't expect to see a flower of enlightenment here. Master, you must snatch this flower of enlightenment. This is the foundation of achieving the Tao. Any price is worth it. Chapter 2456. Break. Xiaoping formed a seal with both hands and lightly pointed at the void. Although the formations around the flower of enlightenment were more than 10 times stronger than the crimson blood dragon divine grass, it was nothing to him, who had the golden crow's eye of hell. He had long seen through the weaknesses of these restrictive formations, and he was like a hot knife through butter. Boom! With a point of his finger, all the formations in the vicinity were instantly shattered. The entire valley was immediately restored to its original state, and the flower of enlightenment appeared in front of him. It really is the flower of enlightenment. Xiaoping's pupils shrank as he looked at the flower growing in front of him. When he looked at the transparent flower, he felt as if he could see the countless laws of the universe, the boundless abyss, and the heavenly Tao of the universe. Just looking at the flower of enlightenment itself seemed to have touched him. If he consumed it, it would probably be thousands of times easier to comprehend the laws of the universe than before. This flower of enlightenment belongs to me now. Without another word, he waved his hand and immediately put the flower of enlightenment into the space of the pearl of mountains and rivers. Boom! At this time, the entire ruins trembled again. It seemed that Xiaoping's act of plucking the flower of enlightenment had once again alarmed the invisible dragon Theodore's virtual impression of this place. Suddenly, all the dragons in the ruins could see Theodore's figure appear in the sky. Haha! I didn't think that a junior would be able to find one of the most precious treasures that I left in the outer perimeter of my abode, the flower of enlightenment. This is truly worthy of celebration. I hope you have the strength to protect this treasure of the world. Theodore's voice rang out, and he laughed heartily. At this moment, the figure of Xiaoping plucking the flower of enlightenment once again appeared in the eyes of countless dragons. Damn, it's this Master Mateto again. Just how many treasures did he take? I've been looking for a whole day, but why haven't I found any treasures? Some dragons cursed, half dead with anger. Master Mateto was clearly picking up treasures as if they were trash, but they searched for a whole day and found nothing. Didn't they say that the ruins were filled with treasures? Why couldn't they find any treasures? Was this discrimination? Wait! Look at the holy medicine in Master Matato's hand. Why do I feel that it's very unusual, but I'm not very clear about what it is? One of the dragons looked at the holy herb that Xia Ping had plucked away in confusion. However, it could not recognize what kind of holy herb it was. After all, a treasure like the flower of enlightenment was simply too rare. It would only appear once in a trillion epochs. Even the sages had never seen it before. Only the most knowledgeable dragons would know about it. It was normal that most dragons did not know about the flower of enlightenment. However, there were many knowledgeable dragons among them. Suddenly, an ancient dragon couldn't help but exclaim, "Oh my God, this is enlightenment flower. This is the famous enlightenment flower. This is a rare treasure of the universe. How can Master Matato get it? This is too unfair." Its eyes turned green as it watched. It was pounding its feet and pounding its chest in regret. What are enlightenment flowers? Many dragons asked. Some of them even searched on the virtual network. After all, there were encyclopedias everywhere on the network. If they didn't understand anything, they could just look it up. Very quickly, many dragons knew the true meaning and use of the flower of enlightenment. Their eyes immediately turned red, just like a monkey's butt. It can actually help the sages understand the laws of the universe and let them reach the enlightenment realm. This is such a precious and mysterious holy medicine. If I consume it, won't I be able to advance from the middle ancient realm to the immemorial ancient realm and understand the laws of creation? Some ancient dragons couldn't help but tremble. What a joke! It would be a waste if only middle immemorial dragons were to consume it. If primordial dragons were to consume it, they would have a 50% chance of advancing to the invincible dragon realm. That is how the enlightenment flower should be used. Some dragons said in a low voice. Hearing this, many dragons were shocked. The invincible dragon wasn't just in the dragon world. Even in the entire universe, they were supreme existences that stood at the peak of all living beings. That was the true invincible realm. Even if the other sages banded together, they wouldn't be a match for an invincible sage. They would have an overwhelming advantage. Even with the current strength of the dragon race, the number of invincible realm dragons could be counted on one's fingers. Moreover, it was the number from ancient times until now. One could see how difficult it was to advance to the invincible realm. If ancient dragons knew of the existence of the flower of enlightenment, they would definitely swarm over and snatch the flower of enlightenment. Not only is it useful for ancient dragons, but it is also very useful for invincible dragons. Although it can't help invincible dragons break through, it can still be used to gain a lot of benefits. It will also deepen their understanding of the laws of the universe. If it's possible, invincible dragons might even want it. Some dragons expressed that the flower of enlightenment was also very beneficial for invincible realm dragons. Snatch the flower of enlightenment. We must snatch the flower of enlightenment from Master Matato. This is a true holy medicine that can help one attain enlightenment. Whoever gets it will be able to reach the heavens in one step. Some dragons roared angrily. Their eyes were red and revealed a greedy expression. First it was the crimson blood dragon divine herb, then the flower of enlightenment. How many treasures did this kid get? If we can kill Master Matato, all these treasures will be ours. Many dragons wanted to kill Xia Ping. They couldn't wait to get rid of the kid and snatch the flower of enlightenment and the crimson blood dragon divine herb. If Xia Ping's crimson blood dragon divine herb had caused a huge sensation before, then the appearance of the flower of enlightenment had directly ignited the emotions of all the dragons in the ruins. They must find Xia Ping's location as soon as possible at all costs. If they killed this kid, they would be able to obtain the two peerless holy medicines of the past and present. In fact, it wasn't just the dragons in the ruins that went crazy. In fact, even some of the old antiques in the Dragon God Shrine were completely shocked by the news and woke up from their slumber. The flower of enlightenment has actually appeared. I didn't expect Invisible Dragon Theodore to really get a flower of enlightenment. This is really incredible. No matter what, we must get the flower of enlightenment. If we take it, we will have a 70% chance of advancing to the invincible realm and comprehending the laws of life and death. We will be invincible. That's right. The flower of enlightenment must be ours. That ancient martial dragon is too weak. He's not qualified to get the flower of enlightenment. Many great dragon ancestors discussed among themselves, their eyes filled with greed. Although they couldn't enter the ruins, due to their limited strength, they could still wait outside the door. That way, no matter how many treasures the dragons obtained, they could only stay here. Chapter 2457. For a moment, all the dragons in the ruins were in a frenzy. They searched everywhere for traces of Xia Ping, and they could even log into the virtual network to communicate with each other. It was obvious that they had set up an inescapable net everywhere. If any trace of Xia Ping was found, all the dragons would immediately find out. What should we do? That invisible dragon Theodore is too evil. If he leaked the news of us obtaining the Enlightenment Flower, everyone will come after us. At this moment, Xia Ping, Betty, and invisible dragon Kalita were hiding in a valley. They used the invisible dragon's concealment power to hide themselves, and all the dragon's divine senses couldn't find them. However, Betty was so scared that her face turned green when she saw so many adult dragons looking for her. Even though she was a dragon proficient in fate, she couldn't withstand such an overwhelming encirclement. Why don't we run away and leave the ruins? We have enough sacred herbs anyway. Invisible Dragon Kalita said guiltily. Invisible Dragon Kalita said with a guilty conscience. She was only a young dragon, so she was naturally scared to death. Moreover, the formless energy on her body was not effective at all times. She could not hide it at all times. Furthermore, if the ancient dragon's space-time domain shrouded her, it would distort time and space. Even if the ancient dragon's space-time domain shrouded her, she would still be found, so she felt very guilty. Run. Where can we go? The Enlightenment Flower is a treasure that even the ancient dragons covet. We'll probably be caught as soon as we go out. How can we run? Xia Ping said disdainfully. To be honest, this ruins was the safest place to be, because the dragons that could enter the ruins were at most ancient dragons. The ancient dragons and ancient dragons couldn't enter at all, and could only look at it enviously. If he went out now, he would immediately be caught by the ancient dragons and asked for the Enlightenment Flower. After all, the temptation of advancing to the invincible realm was too great for them. Even if the Dragon God Shrine had a rule that dragons couldn't kill each other, there was no guarantee that no dragons wouldn't kill each other. In fact, before he got the Enlightenment Flower, he knew that this matter would definitely cause a stir in the entire dragon realm. Therefore, Xia Ping had informed Yi Mingyao, who was staying in White Dragon City, through the virtual network, and told her to quickly leave the city with the young dragons, hide their identities, and go to the wilderness to stay away from this whirlpool for a while. Moreover, he had left his golden crow of hell clone by Yi Mingyao's side. Its strength was near the ancient realm, so he didn't have to worry about Yi Mingyao's safety. He had made this decision because he was worried that the ancient dragons might do something desperate and attack Yi Mingyao and the others, so he was fully prepared. As for the business in the dragon realm, it was likely to be ruined. However, this was not a big deal. Just one Enlightenment Flower was worth hundreds of billions of dragon crystals. This was because such a treasure was not something that could be bought with money, even if some sages used peerless saint artifacts to exchange for it. There might not be any sages willing to exchange for it. The adult dragon is right. I can sense danger at every step outside the ruins. Only by staying inside the ruins will I have a chance of survival. I can sense danger at every step outside the ruins. Staying inside the ruins gives us a chance of survival. Betty couldn't help but nod. After hearing Xia Ping's words, she seemed to sense the only way out of the countless paths of fate. Only by staying in the ruins would they be able to turn misfortune into fortune. That's good. Hearing this, the invisible dragon Kalita couldn't help but feel relieved. If it was Betty who said this, it would be very convincing. The situation after leaving the ruins wouldn't be much better. Looks like after this trip to the ruins, I'll have to escape from the dragon realm and lie low. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. He wasn't worried that he would be targeted by the ancient dragons. That was because he had the ancient heavenly dragon talisman. If there was an emergency, he could leave the dragon realm at any time. Even the invincible dragons might not be able to catch up to him. Therefore, he was already in an invincible position and didn't need to worry about his own safety. Several days later, inside the ruins, dragons found all sorts of sacred herbs and even sacred artifacts from time to time. At the same time, the invisible dragon Theodore would also broadcast the images to the world. This also caused countless dragons to fight and kill each other. It was extremely tragic. However, even if these dragons obtained so many sacred herbs and treasures, the enlightenment flower that Xiaoping obtained was still ranked first among all the sacred herbs. Countless dragons yearned for it. After all, this was a sacred herb that was known as the flower of enlightenment. Even the ancient dragons coveted it. In fact, many ancient dragons had secretly issued orders for the dragons who entered to get the enlightenment flower from Master Mateto at all costs. There were also ancient dragons who tried to contact Master Mateto, hoping to trade the enlightenment flower. But so far, they couldn't contact Master Mateto. They didn't even meet him. Damn it, where is Master Mateto hiding? Why can't we find any trace of him after searching for a few days? Yeah, it's really weird. In fact, it's not just us who didn't find him. The other brothers also didn't find him. He can hide better than a mouse. I really admire him. Isn't that so? I don't know what means he used to do this. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, we have a lot of time. He hasn't left the ruins, and is still staying in this place. One day, his traces will be exposed. When that time comes, it will be his death. At this time in a forest, 5 or 6 ancient dragons were discussing. They gnashed their teeth, wanting to find Xiaoping's traces, and obtain the enlightenment flower and crimson blood dragon divine grass from him. But so far, they couldn't find any trace of Xiaoping, which made them feel discouraged. But what they didn't know was that in a place not far from them, in a small mountain, Xiaoping and Betty were hiding with the power of the invisible dragon Kalita, not leaking any aura. Damn it, this group of adult dragons are just like vicious dogs, chasing us relentlessly, making us unable to find new treasures for a few days. Destiny Dragon Betty bared her teeth, feeling very angry. Originally, she sensed that there were many treasures nearby, and tried to let Xiaoping find them. But she found that there were many ancient dragons looking for her in the surroundings. So she gave up. In the end, they could only hide for a few days and didn't get any treasures. Hee, still hiding. This group of ancient dragons searched everywhere for my traces, and even wanted to kill us. Do they really think I don't have a temper? Forget it, don't hide anymore. Let's go on a killing spree and kill all these ancient dragons. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of ominous glint. Adult dragons. Fate Dragon Betty and Formless Dragon Kalita looked at Xiaoping with admiration. You two little things hide here and don't move. Wait for me to kill this group of ancient dragons. Xiaoping's figure flashed and immediately jumped through space, flying over. Chapter 2458. What dragon? At this time, the 6 ancient dragons were very sensitive, and immediately noticed a slight spatial fluctuation in the void. they shouted, and at the same time, their space-time domain was activated. Immediately, Xia Ping's figure appeared in front of the group of ancient dragons. Master Potato? One of the ancient dragons couldn't help but shout when he saw Xia Ping's appearance. Haha, it's really easy to travel to the ends of the earth to find you. I didn't expect to find you in this place. These ancient dragons were simply ecstatic and excited. They originally thought that they had no chance to find Master Potato and get the Enlightenment Flower. But who would have thought that they actually found Master Potato in this forest? This was simply a meat pie falling from the sky. Kill him. The 5 ancient dragons didn't talk nonsense at all. They looked at each other and very tacitly, their space-time domain instantly crushed down, sealing the void for billions of miles. Vaguely, 5 space-time domains intertwined with each other, as if distorting space-time. Any space-time law in this place became invalid, as if it had turned into an absolute domain. They not only wanted to prevent Master Potato from leaving, but also to prevent this news from leaking out. Otherwise, if other dragons swarmed over, they wouldn't have a share. At that time, the news of them obtaining the Enlightenment Flower might leak out, and like Master Potato, they would become the target of public criticism. At that time, they were afraid that they would be miserable. Morning Staff. Xia Ping didn't even look at it. He took out the Hell Magic Treasure Morning Staff from his body. With just a light shake, a powerful space-time domain gushed out from his body and instantly tore this void. His current space-time domain was so powerful that it was simply hair-raising. It was like the embryonic form of a world. Even the space-time domain of these ancient dragons couldn't control him. Therefore, he operated the space-time domain and instantly broke free from the bondage of the ancient dragon's space-time domain. Dong! Holding the morning staff in his hand, he instilled a huge amount of magical power into his body and gently knocked at the 6 ancient dragons. Soul-subduing 5 styles. First style, dizziness. Vaguely, with the morning staff as the center, the void within billions of miles produced a burst of strange vibration. It was as if gods and demons were wailing and howling. In the depths of the void, there was a demon god crying. Ring after ring of strange soul fluctuations spread out in all directions, creating many ripples in the void. These ripples condensed into substance, and could even be seen by the naked eye. However, even the space-time domain could not stop these soul fluctuations. They instantly bombarded the bodies of the 6 primordial dragons. Damn it! What kind of power is this? Our space-time domain is actually unable to restrain it. Not good. I have a bad feeling about this. Hurry up and dodge. This power contains the fluctuations of a soul attack. Damn Master Potato, where did he get such a magic weapon? The hairs of these middle ancient dragons stood on end. Their many years of battle instincts were warning them that they had to dodge as soon as possible. Otherwise, none of them would be able to escape if they were hit by this power. However, it was already too late. The power and speed of the morning cudgel was so fast that it was not something they could imagine. As soon as the morning cudgel struck down, the power of the soul shock had already affected the bodies of the 6 middle ancient dragons. Bang bang bang. In an instant, the primordial dragons felt as if their heads had been hit by a huge stick. They were dizzy and saw stars. They lost their consciousness for a short period of time, and their bodies stiffened. Kill World Touch. Xia Ping instantly communicated with the World Tree in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Swish! 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 The roots of the World Tree stretched out from the depths of the void and tore through the void like god-killing spears. They silently pierced the bodies of the 6 middle ancient dragons. With a loud bang, the 6 middle ancient dragons let out miserable screams. After being attacked by the World Tree, their souls were instantly torn apart. Even with the powerful bodies of the dragon race, it was impossible for them to resist the attack of the World Tree. Devour. The next second, with a thought from Xia Ping, the World Tree immediately produced an extremely powerful devouring power. The corpses of the 6 middle ancient dragons also shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye. It seemed that the flesh and blood energy of these middle ancient dragons were completely devoured in just a few breaths' time. Next, on the branches of the World Tree, Due to the devouring of the energy of these Middle Ancient dragons, 6 time fruits condensed. Dense lines of the law of time immediately appeared on the surface of the fruits. These lines of the law of time intertwined with each other and seemed to form a rune that looked like a clock. Time fruits. Xiaoping clenched his fists, feeling very excited. The reason why he didn't capture them and instead chose to kill them was not only because they wanted to kill him, but also because he was at a critical juncture. At the same time, it was also because he was at a critical juncture and needed a large number of time fruits to comprehend the power of the laws of time. That was why he had killed them all and refined them into time fruits. This way, he would have enough energy and power to break through to the Middle Ancient realm and comprehend the law of time. Boom! However, at this moment the void trembled. After he killed the 6 Middle Ancient dragons, a black hole immediately formed, and a transparent token fell from the void. What is this? Xiaoping blinked his eyes. He was very curious, and couldn't help but pick it up. Immediately, he felt that his mind immediately formed an inexplicable connection with the token. Even his aura had merged with the entire cave dwelling in the ruins. This is the invisible token, the token that allows me to enter the core area of the cave ruins. Xiaoping immediately received a huge amount of information from the token, and his eyes shone brightly. He had been searching for treasures in the outskirts of the cave ruins. The true core area was hidden in the depths of the void, in another dimension that no one could enter. Even so, he had already obtained so many treasures in the outskirts. If he entered the core area, where the invisible dragon Theodore's true treasures were, wouldn't the treasures be heaven-defying? Bang! But at this moment, the invisible dragon Theodore's figure appeared once more, its arrogant voice sounding out. Haha, what a pleasant surprise. I didn't think a dragon would receive my invisible token so quickly. Just how many dragons did he kill? Just how vicious and evil of a dragon did he have to be able to do something like this? I'm so excited. Its joyful voice spread throughout the entire cave abode, and was heard by every single dragon. Damn it! What is the invisible dragon Theodore trying to do? Xiaoping instinctively felt that the invisible dragon Theodore's evil thoughts were that the invisible token in his hand wasn't anything good, but a hot potato. Chapter 2459. Just as Xiaoping had expected, Theodore spoke again. But don't celebrate too early, evil dragon. It's just a pass to enter my core residence. You'll have to prove your strength if you want to enter my residence. Only a truly invincible dragon has the right to inherit all of my treasures. Next, the dragon with the invisible token would have to survive for a full month. The dragon with the invisible token would reveal its location once a day, and each time it would reveal its location for an hour. The dragon with the invisible token would be hunted down by all the other dragons. Any dragon that killed the dragon with the invisible token would have the right to enter its core cave abode. Of course, you can give up your invisible medallion if you think you're no match for me and wish to live. However, giving up once means you've completely lost the right to inherit my legacy, and it'll be useless even if you obtain another invisible medallion. There are 10,000 of these medallions, and they're scattered in every corner of the residence. Let's see if you're lucky enough to find one. Struggle, survive, and fight. Only the strongest dragon will be able to obtain my treasures. Trust me, as long as you're the final victor, you'll obtain the greatest treasure in this world. A treasure you won't be able to enjoy for the rest of your life. With that, the formless dragon vanished once more. His words, however, had caused a huge commotion among all the dragons in the cave abode. Even the giant dragons outside the cave had gone completely crazy. Heavens, there's a core residence in this residence, and we've only been searching the outskirts. One dragon was in disbelief upon hearing the news. Just how rich is the formless dragon Theodore? Just the outer regions have top-notch sacred herbs like the scarlet blood dragon godgrass and the enlightenment flower. I can't imagine how many treasures are hidden in the core regions. One dragon felt his blood boiling and his body trembling. The treasures on Theodore alone were enough to make one's hair stand on end. Just the treasures they plundered in the outskirts over the past few days were enough for them to enjoy for the rest of their lives. However, this was only the outer regions, a mere portion of Theodore's wealth. It was insignificant, a drop in the ocean. How insane was this? How shocking was this? The invisible medallion. I must risk my life to obtain it. That's where Theodore kept all his treasures. That's the true treasure trove. One dragon roared furiously, his eyes bloodshot. Who is it? Who's the one with such heaven-defying luck to obtain the first invisible medallion? One dragon searched everywhere, hoping to find the first dragon who'd obtain the medallion and snatch it from him. It wasn't as simple as a medallion, but a key to the gates of riches. I sense it. I sense the specific location of the dragon with the medallion. That fellow seems to be Master Mutaic. Just then, a dragon roared, and the entire ruins trembled. A mysterious information was infused into the depths of his consciousness, and a map of the ruins appeared in his mind. Xiaoping's figure also turned into a dot of light that appeared on the map of the ruins. No matter where Xiaoping ran, this dot of light followed him like a shadow. At the same time, Xiaoping's appearance and the scene of him obtaining the invisible medallion were also displayed on the map. Fuck, it's actually that Master Matato again. How lucky is he? He even got the invisible token. Is God blind? Yi Xuan's expression changed. Just now, he obtained the Crimson Blood Dragon God Grass, Enlightenment Flower, and now he even obtained the invisible medallion. Is he Theodore's son? How can he take care of him like this? It's too unfair. When a group of dragons found out the identity of the dragon who'd obtained the invisible medallion, their eyes turned green. The jealousy in their hearts couldn't be described with words. Good luck is not necessarily good luck. A dragon revealed a trace of a sneer. He was the first to obtain the invisible command, so he became the target of everyone. All the dragons will choose to hunt him down. No matter how powerful Master Matato is, can he resist the pursuit of so many dragons? Moreover, the dragons who possess the invisible medallion will expose their traces for half an hour every day. Such exposure is unavoidable. As long as the dragons have the invisible medallion, they will encounter it. In other words, this Master Mutaic's ability to conceal himself is completely abolished. He will be discovered by all of us dragons. Even if the ruins are large, where can he run to? If he doesn't give up the invisible medallion, he's dead. Hearing this, many dragons were also convinced. That's right, this Master Mutaic is dead. He has the Crimson Blood Dragon God Grass, Enlightenment Flower, and now he has the invisible medallion. He's simply a moving treasure. Moreover, his position has been exposed. He can't hide, so anyone can chase after him. Let's go, don't talk nonsense. Immediately chase after him. Kill this Master Mutaic, and take away all of his magic weapons and the invisible medallion. That's right, all of his treasures are mine. This time he can't escape. Many dragons shouted in excitement. They also sensed Xiaoping's specific position and chased after him. At this time, Xiaoping also knew that he was facing an unprecedented crisis. This damned invisible dragon Theodore. Xiaoping gritted his teeth. If that invisible dragon Theodore appeared in this place, he would definitely rush up and punch this guy. This was simply trying to kill him. He knew that obtaining this medallion would not be a good thing. Originally, he could use his concealment ability to make a fortune around the ruins. He could plunder treasures from everywhere and rob other dragons' treasures. Now, with such an invisible medallion, and exposing his traces every day, how could he hide? There was no way to hide at all. He could only fight to the death with the other dragons. Of course, it was impossible for him to give up this invisible medallion and be a coward. That was because he had the same thought as the other giant dragons. If there were so many amazing treasures in the outer region alone, then what about the core region? Just how amazing would the treasures be? It was simply unimaginable. Therefore, no matter how dangerous the situation was, he had to fight to the death. Unless it was the last resort, he would never give up the invisible medallion. There's no other way, I can only kill. Whoever dares to snatch my things must die. Xiaoping clenched his fists. His killing intent was soaring, the void distorted, and his body exuded a burst of ancient underworld god aura. Chapter 2460. Another day had passed. At this time, many dragons had obtained all kinds of treasures in the ruins. Even dozens of invisible tokens had appeared. These dragons who obtained treasures and invisible tokens would naturally be chased by other dragons, even if they were all dragons of the same race. But under the peerless opportunity, their relatives and friends would not care about their feelings, not to mention that they were merely dragons of the same race. But even so, the most eye-catching dragon was still Master Matato. After all, the Enlightenment Flower and Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass on Master Matato were too precious. Even ancient dragons coveted them. How could they give up? Many dragons were still looking for traces of Master Matato, not giving up. Haha, it's time for the invisible token to be exposed. Master Matato. Sure enough, Master Matato is in this place. I finally found this kid. Quack, this Master Matato is just near our metal dragons. Let's see where he can run to this time. Immediately catch this kid, don't let him run away. But after killing this Master Matato, how should we divide the Enlightenment Flower, Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass, and the invisible token? What's the use of thinking so much? Kill this kid first. If we can't kill this Master Matato, then don't say anything. Many metal dragons were discussing. Because they wanted to hunt down Master Matato, they gathered together and formed a temporary team. Moreover, each of their strength had reached the Middle Ancient Realm. They had comprehended the law of time and possessed the domain of time and space. They were almost one of the strongest dragons in this ruin. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Without saying a word, they immediately flew in the direction where Xiaoping appeared. At this time, Xiaoping stayed in the same place and did not run at all. He did it on purpose. He wanted to kill the chicken to scare the monkey. He also knew that he could not hide at all. He had to fight for at least half an hour. Otherwise the other dragons could still continuously find his whereabouts, unless he gave up the invisible token. Sure enough, he is Master Matato. He really searched everywhere in the world, and found it without any effort. This kid has the Enlightenment Flower, Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass, and the invisible token? Kill him, and these treasures will belong to us. It's really great. This kid is quite capable. Quite a number of dragons had tried to hunt him down before, but all of them disappeared without a trace. They couldn't even send out a distress signal. Hehe, it's just a near-ancient dragon. How powerful can it be? However, your concerns are not without reason. Let's attack together and kill him first. This group of metal dragons was filled with killing intent. Waves of intense malice and killing intent surged out from their bodies. They did not conceal it in the slightest. Since ancient times, they had always been like evil dragons. They were born evil, and did not care about the so-called benevolence and morality. Interesting. Steel dragon, rock dragon, gold dragon, diamond dragon, mercury dragon, bronze dragon, and so on. Metal dragon. You fellows want to cause trouble for me? It seems you fellows have a death wish. Xiaoping stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking at these famous metal dragons. These metal dragons were all constructed from special metal materials, and all of them had defenses that were almost indestructible by physical force. It could be said that every metal dragon had the strongest combat skills and defense. It could be said to be an impenetrable fortress, and was known as one of the strongest species in close combat. Foolish thing. A mere near-ancient dragon dares to provoke us metal dragons? Even if you are a sacred dragon, you will die here today. Come out, steel wall. In an instant, a steel dragon roared angrily. A powerful steel spacetime domain emanated from its body. The space within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles was enveloped by a steel wall, completely surrounding this place. Countless steel elements gathered together, and the steel wall that was hundreds of millions of kilometers tall immediately rose from the ground. Moreover, it contained a powerful spacetime restriction. Ordinary power could not shake it at all. It was enough to seal the sky and lock the earth. This was a steel wall built to prevent Xiaoping from escaping. Diamond cage. This is the strongest cage in the world. Let's see how you can escape. You can be trapped in this place until the end of time." The diamond dragon was not to be outdone. It also formed a diamond city wall that fused with the steel city wall. Powerful restrictive formations were set up around it, sealing everything and forming a huge cage. No matter what method was used, it would not be easy to escape from this cage. The steel dragon and diamond dragon were also known as the dragons with the strongest defense. The cage they built was known as a prison that could not be broken out of. Even if a demon from the abyss was imprisoned in it, it would not be able to escape. Fall rock meteor. Let all the filth in this world turn into ashes. A huge rock dragon roared angrily. In the sky, countless earth elements gathered to form huge rocks. Each rock was as big as a star, and there were thousands of them. Moreover, each rock contained a powerful restriction formation. They were as heavy as stars, and if they fell, they would be able to destroy an area. This move seemed to be able to destroy the world. Wild Mercury dance. It is your honor to die in this world of mercury. The mercury dragon sneered. Its body seemed to have turned into mercury. Each drop of mercury contained a strong poison that could corrode the soul. If one was hit by a drop, it would be like being cursed. Moreover, each drop of mercury was as heavy as first essence water. In an instant, hundreds of millions of mercury raindrops poured down from the depths of the void, covering the sky and earth. It was as if they had turned into mini mercury snakes, forming a super large formation that enveloped everything. There was nowhere to hide. Bronze cannon. This cannon can pierce through the world. Who can block it? The bronze dragon was still in its original position. Its huge body was brewing bronze power. Endless power gathered together. This bronze power contained strange powers such as breaking magic and armor. There was once an invincible bronze dragon that could destroy dozens of worlds with a single cannon shot. Although this bronze dragon that had reached the Middle Ancient realm did not have such power, this cannon shot could still kill any Middle Ancient dragon of the same level. Even though this attack could only be used 3 times a day, it was enough to make countless dragons tremble in fear. Countless living beings in the various worlds were terrified. Gold sword formation. Be immersed in this dragon's beautiful sword art. The gold dragon cackled. It circulated the gold elements in its body. In an instant, hundreds of millions of flying swords condensed from gold appeared in the depths of the void. Each flying sword was extremely sharp and indestructible. They contained a sharp power that could cut through space and time. The hundreds of millions of golden flying swords formed a huge sword formation. They buzzed and resonated with the heavenly Tao. It was as if they had turned into the destructive power of the laws. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, hundreds of millions of golden flying swords blasted over. They covered the sky and earth, as if they wanted to turn Xia Ping's body into a beehive. Chapter 2461. Bloodline Divine Ability, Infernal Golden Crow Wings. In the face of such an attack, Xia Ping's figure flashed, and a pair of illusory infernal golden crow wings appeared on his back. Each feather was condensed from infernal golden crow flames, and seemed to contain the power of the law. Ordinary people could not see such flames at all, as if they were transparent. At this moment, such a pair of wings appeared on his body, and his whole body seemed to blend into the depths of space-time, as if he had escaped to another dimension, and his body was surrounded by a powerful power of the law. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, Xia Ping's speed reached the extreme, and with the use of the space domain, he had the effect of teleportation in this space. Even if the attacks of these ancient dragons were enough to distort the law of space-time, ordinary ancient dragons would be interrupted if they tried to teleport. If they tried to use it forcibly, they might fall into the turbulence of space and be torn apart by the power of the space storm. However, the infernal golden crow wings on his body were different. Even if he was in the turbulence of space, he could still smooth all the turbulence and calmly shuttle through any place. This was like the supreme wings of outer heaven above all space-time. Rumble. In the next second, the attacks of these metal dragons arrived, bombarding the place where Xia Ping was, and instantly smashed the place into nothingness, Not even a speck of dust remained. One could imagine how terrifying these ancient dragons were. Each of them was like a weapon in the human world. What happened? Where is Master Mateto? Is he dead? The Mercury Dragon's divine sense scanned everywhere, but it could not sense Xia Ping's existence. He must be dead. In the face of this dragon's gorgeous attack, no dragon can survive. He has probably turned into ashes. The gold dragon laughed loudly, standing with his hands behind his back, his face full of arrogance. This dragon did not sense the slightest aura of this Master Mateto, as if he disappeared into thin air from this world. This situation is very strange. According to the news, he can fight against ancient dragons, so it is impossible for him to die so easily. Everyone needs to be careful. The bronze dragon said calmly. Because the number of times it could attack was limited, it was extremely cautious every time it attacked. It was also the most cautious dragon among this group of dragons, never being careless. It is indeed strange. This dragon is the champion of the martial arts competition. Even if he is only in the late ancient realm, it is impossible for him to die so easily. Maybe this kid is hiding somewhere. I did not sense his aura of death. The rock dragon said in a muffled voice. Don't worry. Under this dragon's diamond cage, even the demons of the abyss world can be trapped. If this Master Mateto is not dead, he must be in this cage. There is nowhere to hide. Diamond Dragon said proudly. Wait, careful. I can sense a strange soul ripple coming from the void. It is distorting this space. Suddenly, the steel dragon could not stop himself from shouting. Enter the dream. In the dream, you can obtain eternity, obtain everything, and be omnipotent. There was a boom as Xia Ping emerged from the depths of the subdimension with his golden crow hell wings. He had taken advantage of the fact that the metal dragons had finished their attack, and now was the moment when the void was at its weakest. Taking advantage of this moment, he used the soul secret technique, Zhuangzhou's dream of butterfly. Rumble. In an instant, the space-time within a radius of 1,000 light-years was distorted, falling into Zhuangzhou's dream world. It was as if this area was between reality and illusion, and all the souls of the metal dragons were forcibly pulled into the dream world. Crap. This is a secret soul technique. Run quickly. We are metal dragons and our soul power is weak. We can't resist such a secret soul technique. Damn it. Why didn't the intelligence say that he is proficient in the secret soul technique? This is too shameless. Isn't he the champion of the martial arts competition? Isn't he a muscular dragon? What a joke. The metal dragons' faces changed drastically, and their faces were ashen. Although the metal dragons were known as the muscular men of the dragon race, invincible in close combat, and known as a tank-like existence, they were immune to almost any physical attack, and they would never die in battle. However, they also had a weakness, and that was their weak soul. If they were faced with a soul attack, the soul ripple would penetrate the metal shell, and they would be easily killed. They also knew this weakness, and they were always careful. But who would have thought that this famous Master Mateto was not only strong in melee combat, but also good at the secret soul technique? This was far beyond their expectations. Rumble. In just an instant, these golden dragons could not even send out a distress signal, and they fell into the world of Zhuangzhou's dream of butterfly one by one. Their huge bodies were dumbfounded, and their dragon eyes lost all consciousness. Obviously, they had completely fainted, and no longer had any power to resist. And the surrounding diamond cages and steel cages also collapsed and disappeared without a trace, because they were not controlled by the diamond dragons and steel dragons. Haha, these metal dragons are all mine. Xia Ping grabbed with his big hand, and immediately used the six-path sealing technique to capture all the Middle Ancient Realm metal dragons. He sealed all their magical power, and then imprisoned them in the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers. He was very happy. These metal dragons were simply the best labor force. Each of them was tall and mighty, invincible in physical attacks, and could be thrown out as a meat shield at the critical moment. It could be said that they were hard-working cattle. If he could completely tame them, they would probably be his best helpers. Master is really amazing. You caught another batch of metal dragons. The green ox looked happy. As the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers grew bigger and bigger, it had almost surpassed the volume of the old master's space. In order to manage the various farmlands, medicinal fields, spiritual fields, and so on in the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers, he was really unable to split himself. Now that he had captured these metal dragons as slaves, it really greatly eased his labor force. Strange, what's the use of capturing so many dragons? These dragons are all arrogant and untamed. How can they be so easy to submit to? Corinne felt that it was very difficult to tame these arrogant dragons. Hee, what do you know? Don't be fooled by how arrogant they look and how they can't be tamed. However, we can capture them and use them as breeding pigs. Their offspring will still have the bloodline of dragons. We can brainwash them and change their personalities. Won't they still become our fighters? The green ox said disdainfully. Evil too evil. Corinne was speechless. He did not expect the green ox to think so far ahead. However, it was indeed so. The personalities of these adult dragons were already stable, and it was very difficult to change. But their offspring, the young dragons, were different. Their personalities could still be changed. After some education, these young dragons would definitely obediently submit to them. But in this way, the dragon realm was simply the best ranch, and he could capture these dragons at will. Chapter 2462. Another 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. Xiaoping set off a bloody storm in the relic. He no longer hid in the dark, but took the initiative to attack those giant dragons, seizing the opportunity to capture them one by one. Anyway, no matter what happened in the relic, the dragon god shrine would not care. So this was the best time to strike. If so many giant dragons disappeared in the outside world, it would definitely cause an uproar. But in the relic, no matter how many giant dragons disappeared, there was no way to investigate. After all, these giant dragons could also be dead. Moreover, this was the nest of the invisible dragon Theodore, which was the base camp of the invincible giant dragons. Even the dragon god shrine could not do anything or intervene. However, such an unscrupulous action immediately caused many giant dragons to be frightened. Damn, this Master Potato is too arrogant, simply unscrupulous. Isn't it? We haven't even attacked him yet. But this brat has already turned the tables and started to attack us. Just who gave him the courage to do so? He is indeed too arrogant. Previously, some immortal dragons and near-ancient dragons had just appeared in a certain jungle, and they were all killed by this kid, not leaving a single one alive. This Master Potato is indeed the champion of the martial arts competition. Such combat skills are too powerful, almost invincible in the same realm. I don't know what kind of giant dragon bloodline he has. Not only invincible in the same realm, but he also has no problem in challenging those with higher levels. It is said that he has also fought with the Middle Ancient dragons, and even directly defeated, and even killed many of them. Are you kidding me? This Master Potato has at most advanced to the Late Ancient realm. How can he compete with the Middle Ancient dragons, who have comprehended the space-time domain? The gap between the two is too big. This is not a joke, because many dragons have witnessed such a battle. At that time, the sky fell and the earth cracked, and the sun and moon lost their light. This is enough to show Master Potato's tyrannical strength. Damn, in this way, which dragon can be his opponent? Is he invincible in the relic? After all, it is impossible for ancient dragons to appear in the relic. Some dragons speculated that Master Potato may not be so powerful before, but he may have consumed the red blood dragon divine grass to enhance his bloodline ability, so his combat power soared. No way, the red blood dragon divine grass was actually eaten by this kid. Then what hope do we have? Don't worry about that. He still has treasures like the enlightenment flower on him. Don't dream. This Master Potato can't be killed without the ancient dragon personally making a move. If we meet Master Potato, we will just be sending ourselves to our deaths. It was no wonder that he was so arrogant and refused to hand over these sacred medicines. If you don't have some ability, how would you dare to be so arrogant? Many dragons were talking about it. After 10 days of fighting, Master Matato's reputation had thoroughly resounded throughout the ruins, causing countless dragons to be frightened. Even in the outside world, many dragons knew the reputation of Master Matato. He really deserved his reputation. He was known as one of the strongest dragons in the history of the martial arts competition in tyrannical Dragon City. Not only was he invincible in the same realm, but he was also able to challenge those at a higher realm. This was enough to shock countless giant dragons, and it made the holy dragons of the Dragon God Shrine pay attention to it. They were very curious about this Master Matato, who suddenly appeared. Such a record also shocked many dragons, making them not dare to chase after Master Matato again. They had to turn to deal with other dragons who had obtained the holy elixir. After all, the treasures of this ruin were not obtained by Master Matato alone. The other colossal dragons had also obtained many sacred medicines, which were enough to make countless colossal dragons drool. At this moment in a jungle, many elemental dragons who had reached the Middle Ancient Realm gathered together, and their bodies were filled with a strong murderous aura. These elemental dragons were the famous dragons of the Dragon Clan. They were the Water Dragon, Lava Dragon, Ice Dragon, Storm Dragon, Earth Dragon, Sand Dragon, Thunder Dragon, and so on. Their bodies were condensed from energy elements and contained a powerful immortal body. Ordinary physical attacks had no effect on the elemental dragons. They could disperse and gather at will. They could even manipulate the power of the elemental laws between heaven and earth at will, exerting several times the attack power of the same realm. In terms of combat power, the elemental dragons were second to none. Master Matato is getting more and more arrogant. Do you really think that no dragon can deal with him? The Lava Dragon said in a low voice. Don't be careless. This Master Matato's strength is extraordinary. I saw several metal dragons who had reached the Middle Ancient Realm, joining forces to find trouble with him. However, they have not appeared until now. It is estimated that they are in danger. The Ice Dragon said calmly. Just a group of stupid metal dragons. Even if they have reached the Middle Ancient Realm, they can't be a match for us elemental dragons. The Storm Dragon sneered disdainfully. I received news that the reason why those metal dragons were defeated and none of them escaped was because this Master Matato had mastered a powerful soul secret technique, causing the metal dragons to fall into an illusion. As a result, they were easily killed one by one. An Earth Dragon said that he had received reliable news. He had gone to the battlefield to distort time and space, exploring the memories left behind by the past. Although most of the memory images were erased by a mysterious force, he could still perceive part of the truth. For example, that Master Matato was good at soul secret techniques. No wonder this kid's battles are always so fast and silent. Often before the other reinforcements arrive, those dragons are already destroyed. If he has mastered soul secret techniques, it is not impossible. The Thunder Dragon's eyes revealed a trace of frightening light. The weakness of metal dragons is soul power. Although their physical defense is extremely strong, their soul defense is ordinary. If there is a dragon proficient in soul secret techniques to deal with them, it is indeed easy to be killed. The Storm Dragon clenched his fists. But we elemental dragons are different. We are born with powerful soul power. Ordinary soul secret techniques can't do anything to us. If Master Matato wants to use the power of soul secret techniques to deal with us, it is a pipe dream. That's right. That's why we're all gathered here. In any case, we have to get the enlightenment flowers and the formless medallion from this brat. They're the foundation of our Tao. There are already quite a few primordial dragons in the outside world who are willing to pay any price, as long as we can help them get the enlightenment flowers. Sharon said in a low muffled voice. The other elemental dragon's eyes suddenly lit up. Although the enlightenment flower was indeed precious, it was still too far for them, the Middle Ancient Realm. Even if they used other treasures, they could also advance to the immemorial Ancient Realm, or even the Archaic Realm. Therefore, they might as well use the enlightenment flower to exchange with the primordial dragons for other treasures. Chapter 2463. He's here, the time is up. Finally, the trace of Master Matato is shown again. Sure enough, as we expected, this guy is too arrogant. He is still in the area near yesterday. At this time, Ice Dragon sensed the trace of the invisible token on Master Matato. Then what are you waiting for? Let's go and kill Master Matato and snatch the Enlightenment Flower and the invisible token. Many elemental dragons were murderous. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, these elemental dragons jumped through space and arrived at the place where Xia Ping was. At this moment, Xia Ping was sitting cross-legged on a plane, waiting for the arrival of the battle. He knew that even if he did not look for it personally, there would be countless dragons coming to find trouble with him. Just 10 days of deterrence was far from enough. Here it comes. At this time, he opened his eyes and sensed a distorted space fluctuation in the depths of the void. Suddenly, a powerful elemental dragon appeared directly in front of him. Some of them were bone-chilling, as if freezing everything. Some were as hot as hell, burning the world. Some exuded the aura of death, robbing all life energy. Each of these elemental dragons had mastered the elemental laws to the extreme. Each elemental dragon represented the extreme of an elemental law. In terms of combat power, these elemental dragons were more terrifying than the metal dragons he had encountered before. Moreover, their soul power was also quite powerful and not so easy to control. Even in the face of the power of his soul secret technique, they had a certain degree of resistance. Kill. As soon as the two sides met, they did not talk nonsense at all and directly began to fight. Because at this time, any words were useless. They knew that they were just here to snatch the treasures, and no amount of words could hide this. In this case, there was no need to hide. They directly killed Master Matato and snatched the Enlightenment Flower and the invisible token from him. Thunder Prison. The first to attack was Thunder Dragon. It was known as the fastest dragon. It was really like lightning. Even its body could turn into lightning itself, as if it was the ancient thunder god. Walala, in an instant, it summoned hundreds of millions of thunderbolts. It seemed to communicate with the dimension of thunder. Each thunderbolt contained the terrible power to destroy time and space, as if it also contained the power of heaven's punishment. Hundreds of millions of bolts of purple lightning descended at the same time. Each bolt was like a heaven-piercing pillar, covering a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers. It was like a world of lightning hell, with nowhere to hide. Moreover, each bolt of lightning emitted powerful lightning, destruction, piercing, burning, and other types of law energy. They seeped into the essence of the soul and directly attacked the soul itself. One could imagine how terrifying this thunder prison was. Tempest breath. The storm dragon roared and took out a high-grade saint artifact. It was a huge horn, which was also its natal storm's breath. It was like a war horn. It was engraved with dense patterns of the law of storm and emitted a mysterious aura. It communicated with the wind dimension and caused the law of wind to tremble. It blew the high-grade sacred artifact. Woo-woo, woo-woo. Vaguely, an endless spatial storm blew over, like a storm of doomsday. It contained the tyrannical storm law, as well as the powerful space-time law, which could easily tear apart the void. This was a spatial storm. It produced extremely destructive power, like a natural disaster. Wind blades condensed from the storm law slashed over, as if to cut this part of the world into countless pieces. Any enemy that stood in front of the doomsday storm would be torn into powder. Water pierces stone. The water dragon also made a move. Its magical ability was very simple. It was to control the law of water. In just one breath, it condensed trillions of water droplets. These water droplets were not ordinary water. They were first yuan heavy water from the water dimension. Even extraordinary flames could not burn them. Moreover, they were extremely heavy. A drop of such water was comparable to a meteorite. At this moment, the trillions of water droplets seemed to form an ocean. Each droplet seemed to have its own will, containing the law of water, space-time, and piercing law. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Under the control of the water dragon, trillions of water droplets blasted toward Xia Ping. Each droplet was like a peerless sword chi, as if it could penetrate everything. Even the space-time law could not stop it. If one was hit by these water droplets, one would be instantly turned into a beehive. Even if one had an immortal body, one would be quickly destroyed by these water droplets. Absolute zero icebound world. The ice dragon's eyes were bone-chilling and expressionless. It emitted a cold aura that seemed like 10,000-year-old profound ice, as if it could freeze everything in this world. In fact, its law of ice was this terrifying. When activated with full force, it could even temporarily freeze space-time. Whoosh, in an instant, with the ice dragon's body as the center, a vast cold aura permeated the void within a radius of trillions of kilometers. The surrounding space-time was freezing at a speed visible to the naked eye. No matter what it was, under such a cold aura, it rapidly froze. It was as if in such a world of ice and snow, any life would return to a state of nothingness, and all objects would come to a standstill. It wanted to completely freeze Xia Ping's movements and turn him into an ice sculpture. Death, gravel, plunder, life. The sand dragon's body emitted a terrifying aura of death, as if it was the grim reaper from hell. Its entire body was formed from gravel, but each gravel contained the power to plunder life. This was the sand dragon's innate magical ability. It was born with the ability to plunder life's moisture and energy. Any life that was approached by its gravel would be instantly turned into a dried corpse. If it wasn't strong enough, it would instantly turn into a dried corpse. Wherever it walked, it would turn into a land of death. Oases would turn into deserts, bustling cities would turn into ruins, and countless living beings would have their lives plundered, turning into dried corpses and slumbering in the earth. The sand dragon was also known as the dragon of death of the dragon race, the ominous dragon. Law of gravity, absolute gravity freeze. The earth dragon's power was also extremely simple and violent. It was gravity distortion. It had innately grasped the law of gravity and could exert extremely strong gravity on everything in the world. If a life couldn't withstand it, it would immediately shatter and turn into dust, ceasing to exist. It operated the law of gravity in its body, forming a gravity domain that crushed down and enveloped Xia Ping's body. It kept shrinking, condensing into a single point, and immediately exerted a gravity that was trillions of times stronger. Under such gravity, even a planet would be crushed into a black hole, constantly collapsing and compressing. If it was a body of flesh and blood, there was no need to even mention it. Even its soul would be crushed into dust. These elemental dragons attacked at the same time, erupting with power that seemed to be able to destroy this world. Chapter 2464. Come out, Pearl of Mountains and Rivers, diagram of the Yellow River of 9 Bends. Sensing these fierce attacks, Xia Ping immediately took out his high-grade sacred weapon, Pearl of Mountains and Rivers, and summoned the formation diagram inside, completely covering the void of thousands of light years. Rumble, in an instant, the void of thousands of light years had undergone earth-shattering changes. It seemed to be shrouded by countless yellow rivers, with 9 bends and 18 bends, forming a tyrannical formation. Each river seemed to be like a giant dragon, containing unparalleled power, communicating with the law of the void, seemingly suppressing all the laws of the universe in this place. Dong dong dong! And this power also collided with many elemental dragons who had reached the Middle Ancient Realm, resulting in an earth-shattering explosion. It was like a shock between the laws, destroying the void, and almost blowing up this place. All the power of the elemental laws was blocked by the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers. All of a sudden, the surrounding void was torn apart, causing a void storm and space turbulence. If an ordinary saint came to this place, he would probably be torn apart by the space turbulence. Sure enough, the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers has become more powerful. Xia Ping immediately felt very satisfied. After being promoted to a high-grade sacred weapon, the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers' power had been improved geometrically, even more powerful than it was in its heyday. If the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers was a high-grade sacred weapon, it probably would not have been damaged so easily. Damn, what kind of magic weapon is this? It can actually withstand the attack of our elemental dragons? This is a high-grade sacred weapon. It doesn't seem to be a magic weapon of our dragon clan, but from the human clan. Damn, Where did Master Mateto get the human clan's sacred weapon? Although the human clan's sacred weapons are rare, it's not like they don't exist. The dragon realm is very big, and occasionally there are some. This is nothing. This Master Mateto is so arrogant. Is he relying on this high-grade sacred weapon? Don't be afraid. Even if he has a high-grade sacred weapon, if he wants to use it, he also needs magic power. Under the strong attack of our elemental dragons, sooner or later, Master Mateto's magic power will be exhausted, and he will die. That's right. If he fights with us, the one who will die will definitely be this kid. Many elemental dragons were also taken aback. They didn't expect that their full power attack would be easily blocked by Master Mateto's magic weapon. However, they did not lose confidence. They had seen far too many things. A mere high-grade saint artifact was not enough for them to give up just like that. Boundless space map. Xiaoping formed a seal with both his hands and channeled his magic power into it, immediately summoning the second diagram of the mountain river pearl. Boom! In an instant, the void within a radius of several thousand light years distorted. All the void became layered, as if countless dimensions of space-time were stacked together. In just a few breaths' time, with the beat of mountains and rivers as the center, the space within a radius of several thousand light years had been transformed into a spatial maze. It sealed off the heavens and locked down the earth, and no power could escape. Unless the power of the mountain river pearl's restriction formation was destroyed, they would be trapped in this space maze. What does Master Mateto want to do? Does he want to trap us and kill us all in one fell swoop? Seeing this scene, Ice Dragon's pupil shrank involuntarily. It sensed that it seemed that it could not escape from this place. No matter where it escaped to, it was as if it was a space corridor, and it would be trapped in this place forever. Ridiculous. He dares to use a spatial maze in front of us elemental dragons. Isn't this showing off in front of an expert? Let's see if he dares to continue to be arrogant after we break this shit maze. Many elemental dragons shouted angrily. They were completely enraged. This kid actually wanted to trap all of them, as if he was afraid that they would escape. He completely regarded them as fish on the chopping board. This was unacceptable. In the face of such a situation, even a clay figurine would have some anger. Who could stand it? However, before the elemental dragons could make a move, Xiaoping attacked again in one go. High-grade saint artifact, Pudu Divine Saber. This was a high-grade saint artifact that he had obtained from a Buddhist saint he had killed before. But he had never used it before. Now he finally took it out. In an instant, Xiaoping held the Pudu Divine Saber in his hand, channeled the huge magic power in his body, and slashed at these elemental dragons. Boom! A golden saber light cut through space and time, ignoring the restraints of the space-time domain. It seemed to contain waves of Zen, and directly attacked the enemy's body and soul. What? Many elemental dragons were shocked. They could feel that this slash did not contain any killing intent, but they could feel waves of great will to save all living beings. Under the influence of such a will, they felt as if they were being purified and completely surrendered. This was the power of the Pudu Divine Saber. With one slash, it was as if it could save all living beings. Often, the living beings that were killed did not feel like they had died. Instead, they felt as if they had been redeemed and ascended to paradise. Every life that was killed by the Pudu Divine Saber died in an extremely peaceful manner. There was no pain. Instead, their faces were filled with joy, as if they had been led to paradise by a Buddhist emissary. Dong! This slash landed squarely on the bodies of a few elemental dragons, instantly splitting their bodies in half. They could not help but let out shrill screams. Even their souls were severely injured. Even so, with the powerful immortal bodies and elemental bodies of the elemental dragons, they quickly recovered in just a breath's time. However, their auras were a little weaker. They can't be killed even after this? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. If it was an ancient dragon of the same level, he would have killed them with one slash. There was no exception. Even a medieval metal dragon would be severely injured by this slash, and be on the verge of death. However, these elemental dragons were only lightly injured, and not seriously injured. One could imagine that the elemental bodies of these elemental dragons were indeed extremely mysterious. They were even more powerful than the ordinary immortal bodies. They were a species that was very difficult to kill. Damn Master Mateto. Another superior sacred artifact, and it is a Buddhist sacred artifact. Where did this bastard get so many magic treasures? We must kill this bastard. We can't let him continue to do whatever he wants. Haha. No matter how many sacred artifacts this kid has, they are useless against the elemental bodies of us elemental dragons. First, freeze him and completely control him. Later, I will cut this kid into pieces. It seems that Master Mateto has a lot of treasures on him. Not only does he have the Enlightenment Flower and the Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass, he also has many more magic treasures. We might be rich this time. The many elemental dragons were filled with killing intent, and greed appeared in their eyes. It seemed that they could not wait to take away all the treasures on Xiaoping's body and make them their own. Chapter 2465. Unkillable? In my eyes, there is no existence that can't be killed. Hearing the words of these elemental dragons, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He activated his left eye, the Eye of Hell. In an instant, his left eye completely turned into a black vortex. It was as if the depths of his pupil contained a world of hell. It was all-encompassing and emitted the aura of death. At this moment, the whole world seemed to have changed in his eyes. There was only black and white left, and many black lines appeared in the void around him. These lines were the lines of death. As long as this line of death was cut, no matter how powerful the enemy's undying body was, they would be completely killed. The existence of the enemy would be erased from the depths of their origin. This was also the terrifying ability of the Eye of Hell. It could see the enemy's true weakness and look straight into the abyss of death. And this was also the true meaning of the Grim Reaper. It could see the line of death of every living being and reap with its death scythe. No matter where they escaped to, they would be killed. Originally, Xiaoping rarely used the ability of the Eye of Hell. But at this moment, in order to kill these elemental dragons with elemental bodies, he used the Eye of Hell. What exactly is this feeling? Sand dragons were the most sensitive to the aura of death. The moment it felt that the eye opened, its entire body's aura was locked, and it had nowhere to escape. That black eye emitted waves of ominous aura. It was as if it came from the god of the underworld. It was filled with the aura of death, as if it could see the end of all things. Even if it was a primordial dragon that had comprehended the law of space and time, an existence that had jumped out of the river of fate, it still couldn't help but shiver when facing this nether godlike eye. Damn it, this Master Mateto is too strange. He is definitely not an ordinary dragon. No, we can't continue fighting. I have a feeling that if we continue, we will die without a doubt. Run, hurry up and escape from this place. All the elemental dragons' hair stood up. They were terrified. They didn't know how many eras they had been fighting for, and they had an extraordinary intuition and instinct for death. They could clearly feel that death was approaching. Even their elemental bodies couldn't resist it. It was as if they were targeted by the primordial dragons and had nowhere to escape. They no longer had any greed and wanted to escape from this damned place. All things will come to an end. Even the gods will fall, and all life will wither. Xiaoping, who had unleashed the Eye of Hell, seemed to have abandoned all emotions at this moment. He only possessed absolute calmness. Other than ending everything, he had no other thoughts. Whoosh! He waved the Pudu Divine Saber in his hand, and a golden saber light swept out, striking deep into the void. With a loud bang, a line of death in the distance was instantly cut off. Without a doubt. With a boom, the first to bear the brunt of the attack was the sand dragon. It did not even try to run. It only felt a mysterious and tyrannical power pass through its body silently. With a crack, its soul was obliterated in the next second. It was as if the Grim Reaper's scythe had harvested its soul. Even its elemental body could not withstand it. Xiaolong. Seeing this scene, the other elemental dragons were so scared that they peed their pants. It was just a single slash. This famous sand dragon was known as the symbol of death. It was extremely ferocious and had killed countless people, yet it had been killed just like that. Moreover, when it died, there were no external injuries. The saber light directly penetrated its body, destroying its soul completely. Not a single bit of its soul power was left. What kind of terrifying and strange power was this? Was this still a dragon? Could this be a dragon of disaster born in some corner of the universe? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Everything to the netherworld. Xia Ping's figure flashed, and he casually waved his saber again. Instantly, the saber light flashed, and a line of death in the depths of the void was easily and silently torn apart. Boom! The most violent lava dragon was dead. Its huge body stood quietly in the void. Its body was like a sacred fire that would never be extinguished, burning fiercely. But now it was like a collapsing mountain. It fell to the ground just like that. The color in the depths of its eyes had completely disappeared, and the soul aura on its body had also disappeared completely. This slash was simple and direct, but it was extremely fatal. A truly tyrannical and invincible magical power was like this. There were no fancy things. With one slash, the enemy could be killed. There was no way to block, look directly at, avoid, or resist. Damn Master Potato. Everyone, don't be afraid. Let's fight with this bastard. I don't believe that he is really invincible. Seeing this situation, the Earth Dragon went completely crazy. It couldn't stand the silent fear of death spreading in the void. It also didn't want to be killed by Master Potato without a sound. Boom! A violent power of the law of Earth gushed out of its body. Countless times the gravity was superimposed. It even burned its own chi and blood, turning itself into a black hole that devoured everything. Obviously, this Earth Dragon was going to go all out. Even if it died, it wanted to drag this kid down with it. But Xia Ping didn't even look at it. His eyes were indifferent, like a high and mighty god. The Pudu divine saber in his hand gently slashed. Boom! The Earth Dragon, who had gone completely crazy, died in an instant. Its body, which was originally as huge as a mountain, was like a piece of paper. A formless power of death completely destroyed its soul. When it died, its eyes were wide open, revealing fear, shock, and disbelief. It seemed that it couldn't believe that it was killed so easily. Seeing this scene, the other elemental dragons went crazy. This was an Earth Dragon that had reached the Middle Ancient Realm. It was known as one of the dragons with the strongest defense. It was born proficient in the law of Earth, and was known as a dragon that would never die if it stood on the ground. But now, with just one slash, this famous Earth Dragon was killed. What kind of joke was this? What kind of power was this? What kind of dragon was this Master Potato? They had never heard of it. We surrender, we surrender. Don't kill me. I am willing to surrender to you. With a plop, an ice dragon immediately knelt on the ground, showing its intention to surrender. It was completely frightened. This was not a dragon at all, but the god of the underworld. How could there be such a terrifying ancient dragon in the world? I also surrender. Please don't kill me. At this time, the other elemental dragons were also scared out of their wits. They had lost all will to resist. The battle of killing 3 ancient dragons in a row had completely frightened them. Such a method was simply killing dragons like cutting grass. No matter how they struggled, they would die. In this case, they might as well surrender. Maybe they could still survive. If the dragons in the outside world saw this scene, they would be scared out of their wits. Many ancient dragons were actually scared to the point of kneeling and surrendering by a mere ancient dragon. This kind of thing was simply unheard of. Chapter 2466. Seeing that these elemental dragons were intimidated, Xia Ping did not continue to kill them. Instead, he chose to seal all of them and imprison them in the space of the Pearl of Mountains and Rivers. As for the dead ancient dragons, they were refined into time fruits. As expected of the Eye of Hell. It's really powerful, but the consumption is a bit high. Xia Ping sighed. This Eye of Hell could directly kill sages, find the enemy's line of death, and destroy them from the root. However, the burden of using this eye was very heavy. Although he did not fight for a long time, It rapidly consumed a part of his magic power. One must know that his magic power was so vast that even ancient sages could not compare to it. Even so, after opening this eye, he still felt a wave of fatigue. This was only suitable as a trump card to kill enemies at a critical moment. It could not be used as a regular method. I wonder what treasures these elemental dragons have on them. Xiaoping touched his chin. In this relic, he was not the only one who found treasures. The other dragons also had their own encounters and obtained many treasures. It was the same for these powerful elemental dragons. Thinking of this, he immediately took out the spatial rings he obtained from these elemental dragons and forcefully broke the restrictive formations, revealing the things inside. What a treasure! Seeing the treasures inside, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. Heavens, this is a gold-embodied arhat fruit. This is a Dao fruit condensed from the life essence of a Buddhist gold-embodied arhat. If you eat it, you will have a chance to cultivate the Buddhist gold-embodied arhat body, becoming invincible. I can't believe I actually saw such a wondrous fruit in this place. When the green ox saw the treasures inside, his eyes could not help but pop out in shock. He said that this golden arhat fruit was extremely rare. It must be a Buddhist sarira condensed from the flesh and blood essence of a Buddhist almighty after he passed away. Then it had to be planted. After being nurtured by the Buddhist Dharma, tempered by the laws of heaven and earth, and permeated by the energy of the universe, only then would it have a chance to give birth to such a golden arhat fruit. In the Buddhist world, people who had not made great contributions would not be qualified to have such a wondrous fruit. In the outside world, it was impossible to have one at all. This was a treasure that could not be bought even with money. The green ox had only heard of such a wondrous fruit before, but he had never seen it before. Fuck, are you kidding me? This is a 9 immortal vine. Continuing to watch, the green ox's eyes widened, and his heart almost twitched. What's a 9 immortal vine? Xiaoping asked curiously. This is an extremely rare plant in the universe. The green ox immediately said, it has 9 vines and has the characteristic of immortality. Even if one of the vines is cut off, it can quickly recover at a speed with the naked eye, just like the immortal body of a saint. However, the most important thing was not this, but the liquid that flowed out from the 9 immortal vine. Every drop of the liquid contained the power of heaven and earth, capable of reviving the dead and regenerating flesh and bones. No matter how heavy the injury was, as long as one took a drop of the 9 immortal vine's liquid, they would be able to recover at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. In fact, this kind of liquid is extremely effective in healing the soul injuries of sages. What? Hearing this, Xiaoping was shocked. A treasure that could heal injuries to the soul couldn't just be described as precious. It was simply priceless and priceless. If the sages knew about this, they would definitely go crazy. This was because all the elixirs on the market that could heal injuries to the soul would basically be sold out. They would definitely not be sold easily. One could imagine how precious this 9 immortal vine was. That's right, it's precisely because of its amazing healing effect that it is crazily sought after by countless sages. The green ox said excitedly, but what's more terrifying is that it has the characteristic of immortality. Even if one vine is cut off and drops of the precious liquid, it can still quickly recover. One can imagine that having the 9 immortal vine is equivalent to having a super machine that can produce endless wealth. Which sage wouldn't go crazy for it? Hearing this, Xiaoping finally understood how precious the 9 immortal vine was. It was basically a treasure bowl that could produce spiritual liquid that could heal the flesh and bones of the dead, and it could also regenerate continuously. This could no longer be described as a supreme treasure. Its value was no less than that of the Enlightenment flower. From a certain perspective, to the entire race, its value was even greater than that of the Enlightenment flower. After all, no matter how powerful the Enlightenment flower was, it could only be used by one person, while the 9 immortal vine could save the life of an entire race. One could imagine how precious and beneficial it was. Oh my God, this is the sea god tea. Seeing another sacred herb in the storage ring, the green ox almost fainted from fright. These top-notch sacred herbs appearing one after another was truly unbearable. the so-called sea god tea, was also a top-notch sacred herb in the universe. It had to grow in an extremely harsh environment. It had to grow on a planet filled with water elements. And after millions of eras of cultivation, it had to devour the origin energy of the universe before it could be born. If an ordinary person were to consume it, they would unknowingly obtain the Tao of water, which would allow them to grasp innate abilities of water, as if they were the ruler of the ocean. Moreover, they would have a unique talent for comprehending the laws of water, which was even more terrifying than the water dragon. It could be said that if an ordinary person were to obtain this sea god tea and consume it, they would immediately become a top-notch water genius in the universe. Cultivating water-type techniques would allow them to achieve twice the results with half the effort, like adding wings to a tiger. What a treasure! Seeing this stock of sea god tea, Xiaoping knew that he had plundered another good thing. Master, this formless dragon Theodore is practically a cosmic thief. He really has plundered every place in the universe. Who knows how many treasure vaults he's gone to and how many treasures and sacred herbs he's taken. The green ox exclaimed. In truth, he did not even know how to describe his current feelings. Sacred herbs like these were extremely rare in the universe, and some were even thought to be extinct or on the verge of extinction. He did not expect to find them here. Back then his old master, the Mountain River Saint, was a knowledgeable alchemist, who knew how many saints sought him out for alchemy, and the number of sacred herbs he had seen was innumerable. Even so, he had not seen a single sacred herb in this place. One could imagine how precious these sacred herbs were, and how unique they were in the universe. From this, one could see how wealthy the formless dragon Theodore was. While he would not dare to say that he was the richest life form in the universe, he was definitely one of the richest. Any random item he took out was enough to make countless saints fight to the death and start a war. Chapter 2467. A month passed by in the blink of an eye. Among them, there were also many dragons who wanted to find trouble with Xiaoping, trying to snatch Xiaoping's enlightenment flower and invisible token, but they were either beheaded or imprisoned in the space of the Mountain River Pearl, becoming eternal slaves. As time passed, invisible tokens continued to appear everywhere in the ruins, and the surrounding dragons became less and less to chase after Xiaoping. They also knew that Xiaoping was not a dragon to be trifled with. This Master Mateto is really strange. He can actually live for a month, and even to this day, no one can snatch the invisible token and enlightenment flower from him. It is simply incredible. Some dragons felt confused. They felt that according to the strength of this Master Mateto, surrounded by dragons, like a tiger eyeing its prey, with the whole world as his enemy, let alone living for a month, even living for 3 days would be amazing. But this Master Mateto was still alive and well, living safe and sound to this day. It is indeed incredible. I have long heard that there were many Middle Ancient dragons who went to find trouble with Master Mateto, but there is no news so far. I don't know whether those Middle Ancient dragons are dead or alive. Some dragons knew some gossip. Are you kidding me? They went to find trouble with Master Mateto, but now there is no way to get any news. They are naturally dead. How can we not know whether they are dead or alive? Some dragons were dumbfounded. According to the strength of the Middle Ancient dragons, each of them had comprehended the law of time and mastered the domain of time and space. Even if such an existence could not beat the other party, they should be able to escape. However, they encountered this Master Mateto, and not a single news was leaked, as if he disappeared from this world silently, which made the dragons even more afraid. Indeed, many dragons also think that those Middle Ancient dragons are dead. That Master Mateto is like a black hole. Who knows how many dragons' lives have been devoured? It is terrifying. I think this is too exaggerated. That Master Mateto is only in the late ancient realm, not to mention that he can contend with the Middle Ancient dragons. He can actually kill them. What a joke. Yeah, I still can't imagine such an absurd thing. A group of dragons simply couldn't believe it, and at the same time, they were also puzzled. At this time, an old dragon said in a deep voice, "Actually, it's not impossible. There are countless secrets in the universe. I heard that in the Forbidden Darkness Zone, there was once an ancestor of the dragon race who encountered a kind of sacred medicine called the Yellow Springs flower. As soon as they touched the flower, they were immediately swept away by a mysterious power of death. Even the primordial dragons were affected. Their souls were pulled into the Yellow Springs and silently died. If Master Mateto could silently kill so many ancient dragons and make them unable to escape, then he must have grasped such a mysterious treasure. Although it might not be a miraculous plant like the Yellow Springs flower, it might have the same effect as the Yellow Springs flower. I don't know, but those ancient dragons all fell for it. It voiced its conjecture. Hearing these words, the other dragons couldn't help but come to a sudden realization. So that's how it is. It seems that it's really as you said, that Master Mateto must have some mysterious means that the dragons don't know about. But what kind of method is it? If I know I can solve this, Master Mateto. A dragon revealed a greedy look. I advise you not to provoke that Master Mateto again. Since it's a mysterious method, it's not easy to find out. Didn't you see those ancient dragons? Silently dying is enough to prove the horror of this method. Before knowing what this method is, going to look for Master Mateto is just throwing away your life. The old dragon sneered. Hearing these words, many dragons couldn't help but shiver. It was indeed like this. Before knowing Master Mateto's secret method, going to look for Master Mateto was just throwing away one's life. Perhaps before they could find out the secret of Master Mateto, they would already be killed. Now that the entire ruins was big enough, there was not only a top sacred medicine like the Enlightenment flower. If they looked carefully, they could also find other top sacred medicines. There was no need for them to risk their lives to find trouble with Master Mateto. Because so many ancient dragons died, it has also proved that Master Mateto has the qualifications to obtain the Enlightenment flower. 3-year-old children swaggered in the market with gold. Naturally, it would also arouse the greed of countless people with ulterior motives. But if it was a 2-meter-tall strong man with a steel sword holding gold, it was guaranteed that not many people would dare to covet it. This was the difference between the two. Only the strong could deserve the top treasures. And during this time, Master Mateto's achievements could fully prove this point. Because of this, except for some hotheads, there were fewer and fewer dragons in the entire ruins who went to find trouble with Xiaoping. They were also afraid of Xiaoping's strength. At this time, Xiaoping, under the leadership of Fate Dragon Betty and Invisible Dragon Kalita, searched everywhere in the ruins for treasures. Haha, those stupid good-for-nothing dragons don't dare to come. Let's see who else can stop this dragon from searching for treasures. Fate Dragon Betty was proud. She felt that it was cool to have adult dragons supporting her. She could completely rely on her master's power. No dragon could bully her, and she could completely walk unhindered in the ruins. Before, those dragons who wanted to find trouble were all killed by the adult dragons. So now, it was those good-for-nothing dragons who ran away in fear when they saw her. The situation was completely reversed. Adult dragon, we have helped you search for a lot of treasures. Can you give us the Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass? Invisible Dragon Kalita looked at Xiaoping expectantly. Fate Dragon Betty was the same. Because the Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass could improve their bloodline, it was very important. As for the Enlightenment flower, it was too precious. It would be a waste to give it to them. Of course, Xiaoping would not give it to them. Well, you have indeed contributed a lot. Then this Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass is yours. After thinking about it, Xiaoping felt that although the Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass was very precious, it would only be of great use to the dragon race. For him, as a human, it was actually not very useful. Moreover, he already had the Hell Golden Crow bloodline. It would be a waste to get the Ancestral Dragon bloodline. Moreover, it was just a Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass. It contained pitifully little Ancestral Dragon bloodline. That's great. Fate Dragon Betty and Invisible Dragon Kalita were extremely excited. They received the Crimson Blood Dragon Divine Grass from Xiaoping. Their little eyes filled with excitement as they cheered joyfully. Is it time? Suddenly, Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. He felt the invisible dragon in his hand tremble slightly, and a huge amount of information immediately surged into the depths of his sea of consciousness. It was as if the information was telling him that he had passed the test and could enter the core cave of Invisible Dragon Theodore. Chapter 2468. Am I still unable to enter the core cave abode for the time being? Xiaoping's heart skipped a beat. According to the invisible token, he had passed the first round of the test. However, he would have to wait for the other dragons with the invisible token to complete the test if he wanted to enter the core cave abode. During this period, the invisible token would not reveal the specific geographical location of the holder. It even had the authority to teleport in the outer cave abode and so on. This could be considered as giving the dragons who passed the test some privileges and a guarantee of safety. Looks like I still have to wait for some time, but it shouldn't take too long. At that thought, Xiaoping calmed down and quietly waited for the other dragons with the invisible token to complete the test. He estimated that it would take at least a month. However, this amount of time was nothing to him. By the way, I should take advantage of this time to improve my cultivation base as soon as possible. Xiaoping decided to go into seclusion for a period of time. He took out a time fruit. Recently, he had killed some primordial dragons and refined at least a dozen time fruits. Each time fruit contained extremely large amounts of energy and fragments related to the law of time. After devouring them, it would definitely be of great help to his cultivation base. Whoosh! At that thought, he immediately consumed the time fruit. Instantly, a large amount of origin energy surged into his limbs and bones and flowed into the 9 purple mansion spaces in his body. At the same time, the magic power in his body was also increasing. Most importantly, the spatial law fragments in his body were also increasing rapidly. Vaguely, Xiaoping sensed that huge spatial law fragments of the world in the depths of his sea of consciousness was not something the mountain river pearl could compare with. And the rich power of the spatial law surged back and forth gave off dense dragon race origin energy, traces of the mystery of the law of time, and seemed to have greatly beneficial the mystery of the time dimension, increasing their cultivation, although it was only for a short period of time. However, the outside world did not have such origin energy. This made many dragons feel extremely uncomfortable, quietly devouring. It was as if they had returned from a beautiful city brought about by the fruit of time and beautiful scenery, as well as the huge amount of law comprehension. The difference between the two was simply too great. In the space of the mountain river pearl. What is this place? The giant dragons that Xiaoping had captured and put into the space of the mountain river for the rest of your lives. Also woke up one by one. Just stay here obediently. They soon realized that they were no longer in the ruin from the side, or even in the dragon world. Was the black dragon Pauzda. What the hell is this place? He acted like a senior as he lectured the newcomers. Chi here so thin. Do you fucking know that I'm a middle rich dragon's origin and a great elemental dragon at that? Many of the giant dragons were shocked. How dare you speak to me in such a tone? This was because the dragon realm was considered one of the top cultivation holy lands in the universe. The black dragon Pauzda raised his hand and slapped it. With a smack, the elemental dragon was sent flying. It spun a few times in the air before falling to the ground, making it dizzy. I don't fucking care what middle immemorial dragon you are. You speak as if I'm not a middle immemorial dragon. Who doesn't have an awesome dragon here? When I was in the outside world, you weren't even born yet. Here, even a tiger has to lie down. And even a dragon has to lie down. There are no exceptions. Do you believe that I won't hang you up and expose you to the sun for 3 days and 3 nights? The black dragon Pauzda scolded arrogantly. What? The other dragons who had just been caught were stunned, especially the elemental dragon that was sent flying by the slap. It was even more dumbfounded. Ever since it had advanced to the middle immemorial realm, it had never been hit by a dragon like this. Wait, where's my power? Why did it disappear? Where did it go? I've become an ordinary dragon? No, that's not right. My power is even weaker than an ordinary dragon. It's like a newborn dragon. Where did my power go? At this moment, the captured dragons suddenly realized that their power had completely disappeared. They couldn't even use the slightest bit of power in their bodies. Only now did they feel panic. If they had only been caught, they could still think of a way to escape. However, if they didn't even have power, they would truly be useless dragons. Even if they returned to the dragon world, they would live a miserable life. Especially if they encountered a former enemy dragon, they would probably live a life worse than death. Shut up. What's there to be noisy about? Since you've entered the prison, your power has naturally been sealed. Anyway, stop making noise. Now that the Lord is here, all of you better be more attentive. Don't embarrass me. The black dragon Pausda shouted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the Fei, crow demon bird, and other primordial species flew over and landed on the ground. All the dragons held their breath and looked at this group of arrogant primordial species. Pausda, you've done well. It seems that the prisoners that were escorted here today are quite obedient. They aren't as noisy as the previous batch. You've made a great contribution. The Fei stood with his hands behind his back, showing the demeanor of an official. Then we have to thank Lord Fei for your guidance. Without Lord Fei's divine might, how could these useless dragons be so obedient? The black dragon Pausda flattered the Fei skillfully. The faces of the dragons that knew the black dragon Pausda twitched. This black dragon Pausda used to be so high-spirited. His might dominated the dragon domain that spanned thousands of light years. All the dragons dared to be angry, but didn't dare to say anything. Even the dragon god shrine couldn't do anything to him. But now, after a few lessons, he quickly changed his attitude and became a pug. Not bad. It seems that you know how to behave. Alright, from now on, you'll be the small leader of this place. You'll be responsible for managing these dragons. If there's any dragon that dares to cause trouble, immediately report it to me. The Fei nodded. Thank you, Lord Fei. Hearing this, the black dragon Pausda was overjoyed. He had become an official. Although his position was still lower than the Fei, it was much higher than these useless dragons. One could imagine that his treatment would also be improved a lot. Thinking of this, he wanted to work harder to manage these new dragons. If any of them dared to cause trouble, don't blame the black dragon Pausda for not showing mercy. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.